This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.
The control system, the global control system, wants us to focus on a dot. This is what it does in science with its specializations. You focus on one dot. And if you focus on a dot without peripheral vision, then you don't see how the dots connect. So you're completely in the dark of the bigger picture. You only see one dot within it.
Mama didn't tell me that the world is unreal. Imaginary story, lies and unreal. The truth, the lies and the truth and fairy tale lies don't have a Prince of Wales. I never get told what is real and true. That's why I put truth out of the blue. Never really did. No one really cares what our heart it hurts. This world is nothing in that world to really exist. We merely burst reality and twist. With a vision and prevail might have told us that the world is a sport. So many things, the earth is the earth. When the lies get told in this world, no one really teases, no one really cares when our heart get hurt. The world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. There is nothing I can feel. This world is a lie. There's nothing is real. This world is a lie. There is nothing I can feel. This world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. There is nothing I can feel. This world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. Nothing I can feel. This world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. Nothing I can feel. Je présente ta part, comment? This world is a lie. Nothing is real. This world is a lie. There is nothing I can feel. Merci beaucoup. Merci.
The control system, the global control system, wants us to focus on a dot. This is what it does in science with its specializations. You focus on one dot. And if you focus on a dot without peripheral vision, then you don't see how the dots connect. So you're completely in the dark of the bigger picture. You only see one dot within it.
This world is not what you think it is. This world is not what you think it is.
Researching Flat Earth has never been easier. Images and videos at your fingertips. Finding images and sharing them has never been easier. Looking for those southern flight routes? Just type flights, and there they are. Show them to your friends in person or share up to 5 at a time. Text them to your friends or if you like, send them in an email. Are you looking for a specific video? The ever-improving video search is right here. Want to see those cool video by Neo-Human Eve? How about that time Amanda Vollmer flat-smacked that space-loving professor? What about that time Flat Earth Dave tricked Joey and Cheeks with the upside-down video from the space station? Find exactly what you want and bypass the Google censorship algorithm. The Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. The best place to learn about our amazing level horizontal non-rotating plane is at flatearthdave.com.
They took cores of it out of boreholes in the ground. Just like normal ice, it was mostly clear and sometimes white, and it would melt into liquid water if it got warm. The whole area of Antarctica is covered in this kind of ice. But that wasn't their main kind of ice. The only time I ever saw them actually studying normal ice was when a film crew from National Geographic came by. The rest of the time, which was most of the time, the scientists were studying something they called sky ice. This stuff was totally different. We were never allowed to go into the laboratory areas of the station because the labs had to be kept super clean, and they said it would mess up their work if they risked letting too many people in the lab. But one time, one of the researchers that I was friends with showed me a piece of sky ice. You couldn't touch the stuff with your bare hands because it was so cold. And it wasn't clear or white like normal ice. It was solid blue. He said that's why they call it sky ice, because it was the exact same color as the sky. We had to wear thick, heavy going outside gloves to handle it. The stuff was so cold, it would instantly freeze your skin if you touched it. I don't remember what the temperature he said it was, but it was something like hundreds of degrees below zero, way colder than the normal ice that was outside. He had to carry it in a metal bottle that was kind of like a thermos. He let me play with the piece of it for a while. It felt lighter than a piece of normal ice of the same size, like it wasn't very heavy at all. It almost felt like you could throw it up in the air and it would just float back down. But I didn't try that. And it was also a little flexible when I tried to bend it. It didn't break like normal ice would. And even for a small piece, you could see through it. It was solid blue right from the surface. And here's the really weird part. It didn't melt into water. When it got warm, because we had it inside, it just started to shrink. It got smaller and smaller, but my glove never got wet. And there was no water on the floor. The stuff just turned into thin air when it got warm and vaporized. He said that was the reason why they had to study the stuff right there in Antarctica. You couldn't take the sky ice back to America to study it because it was almost impossible to keep it cold enough during transit.
Yes.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Connecting the Dots. I'm your host, Richard Lopez, and my co-host, Tam. What's going on, Tam?
Hey, we got the first one under our belt, and absolutely. I think we are just scratching the surface. I think we've just begun. There is so much to cover. There's so much you've introduced me to, and I can't wait to just dive in and keep going.
Absolutely. And this episode is going to be Antarctica, ice or crystal, melting buildings. And we got a lot to cover today.
Yeah.
And, so what's going on with you? How's everything been with you?
Everything's going great. It's going great. I'm admiring your hat, your shirt.
Yeah, she liked the charismatic hat.
Where
really
did
nice.
you get those, Richard?
Absolutely. And the charismatic shirt, you know what I mean? With the charismatic branding. Absolutely. And on the back of it, it has the Charismatic logo on the back too. And it's so comfortable, so nice. Is it flat? And then it's like,
oh, the brand.
oh, that's a nice shirt too. Where you get your shirt
Oh,
from?
why? Thank you. Oh, it's the same. And I've got the buttons inside the back. Yeah.
You shopping at the same place, huh?
Could be the charismictruthstore.com.
Oh, let's see what's going on.
Would you like a quick tour?
Absolutely.
Oh, here's our homepage.
So go ahead and make it big. Expand
You
the
see it?
page. Yep, just expand the page into big to make it big.
Did it get big? Am I presenting? Where is it? It should be full screen. Do you have it?
Yep,
Okay.
full screen. Got it.
Is that full screen? Good, good, good. All right. And we have the iconic brand in the top left. We've got animated, and at the very bottom, goes through our store. So we got this logo. That's my favorite part. And then
Yes.
just a quick tour. We've got, some of our specialties. Richard came up with that, our charismatic specialties. And you can see that they're different colors. We have all
Yes.
different.
Great material, feels great.
Really soft. Yeah, it's several I've worn a bunch of times and they get softer, but the logo is staying all the.
Yep. Look at that one. Yep. We got some melted buildings coming up soon.
Yeah, got mud.
Got mud. Love it.
This is one of my favorites. And these are some of the things that we're going to go over today. Yeah, that we're going to cover a lot.
Ladder, free energy, resets, meltology, mud floods, Antarctica.
Connect the dots. Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect.
The dots. Absolutely. That is nice.
Oh, and then a shameless plug. If I can do a shameless plug.
No, absolutely. No shameless whatsoever. These are the books that you can get on charismictruthstore.com. If you like us and you want to support our channel and you want to stay up to date what's going on in the flat earth community, Tamara has some beautiful books right here. And we're actually working on a book together, too, is actually, so that's awesome.
And my friend, thank you, Richard, did the quote on the back of my book, this last book. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And beautiful Miss Victoria Hibbler. She did that one. Matt Long.
She's also helping us with our book that we just put out too.
With the illustrations. Yeah, she's incredible.
She's awesome. Shout out to Victoria Hibbler.
Victoria. And then
what's going on?
So what we've started is your Flat Earth News and Reports. We've gotten it back up and going again. We're going to start a newsletter and cover meetups and conferences, debates that are in the truther community. And so we have an Instagram page.
Nice.
Flat Earth News and Reports. And it has a direct link to
_news and reports.
That's it. Yes.
Okay.
And it's got links to the YouTube channel and to our store.
Nice.
And also to Sean Hibbler's Old World Order trailer.
Nice. I can't wait for that movie to come out. That's going to be sick.
When you open your eyes to the wonder and unique features of meltology, you'll start to realize how completely different it is from mainstream geology. The explanation that massive structures were carved into solid rock just reveals more of the lies about our history that's a total crock. Here is some more hidden history that can be seen in plain sight. Once you acknowledge their existence, it's hard to ignore them outright. A heat event to melt red brick buildings is another rabbit hole to explore, making the idea of meltology not quite as conspiratorial anymore. There's obviously no way that the dwellings were carved into any mountainside. Pockets of survival are being presented so often now, helping you to decide. Just some more examples that are historical and archival, giving us the benefit of half melts and preserved pockets of survival. While they are picturesque, it is devastating trying to comprehend the type of energy and amount of heat that could cause these colossal structures to expand, melt, and bend. Okay.
Nice.
I'll come back to you. Okay, now I need to share again for the other one. Okay.
You need to go to shop again.
But there is nothing bigger in the
It's
flat earth community right now.
Yeah. So yes, that's we're all waiting for that anticipation of that.
Yes.
Good quality work, and he is one of the best in the truther community when it comes to video production. Again, shout out to Sean Hibbler.
Sean Hibbler, yes. We cannot wait. Yeah, talk about anticipation in the flat earth community. That's going to be huge.
Absolutely.
All right. So that's for the Flat Earth News and Reports. That what we'll cover is things like what's up and coming information, updates for the truther community. And then for the store, I should have mentioned this. Anyone who uses the discount code Meltdown15, you get 15% off any entire order.
Get 15% off. So, and what's the code?
Meltdown 15, 15% off.
Meltdown 15. So if you go to the store and use Meltdown 15, you get 15% off of your purchase. So if you want to support this channel, you want to support us, go to charismictruthstore.com. Get your specialty.
Hats, mugs,
whatever. We've got a lot of mugs. Check the store out. Get something. Show your support and represent.
That's gonna with the Instagram page, that's new. Sean Hibbler's movie coming out. On the Instagram page, we have the meetups that Mark Sargent has put together, and we'll just keep adding. And if anybody has something that they'd like to include, just email us at charismictruth@gmail.com, and then we can include that also.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. So what's going on the Flat Earth News and Reports, Tam?
Welcome to the first Flat Earth News and Reports. This is our mid-March edition, where we're going to start highlighting information from and about the Flat Earth community. Things like upcoming conferences and debates, or meetups, like you can see that Mark Sargent has put together. We're also going to focus on upcoming major events like Sean Hibbler's Old World Order film coming out this spring, and we have for you a little preview. Enjoy.
History is written by the victors. So what if the victor story is fabricated? What if the story they gave us all about our recent past was nothing short of a complete lie? For far too long, humanity has relied on the Board of Education to receive its official history narrative. The problem is their narrative makes absolutely no sense. There are giant mistakes in the timeline that show us all. Not only did they lie, but they hid the previous civilization from us, with no mention of our ancestors looking a little different, traveling with no issues, doing it all in style and efficiency, with beautiful architecture that we can't rebuild today, powered up cities, riding around on their advanced technology. Wait, I thought the 1800s into the early 1900s were a bunch of idiots riding around on horse and buggy. Because when you look back and do a little research, it's obvious. This old world was discovered and then destroyed, resurfaced, and populated. They torched every city across the plain. Nothing new under the sun. Rockefeller flooded your brain with lies. Use your head. think about your family tree and how it all began.
Old World Order. Visit OWOfilm.com for more information.
Yeah, that is going to be epic. We cannot wait for that to come out. Well, thank you so much for joining us on our first Flat Earth News and Reports. If there's anything that you'd like to contribute, any upcoming meetings or conferences, any debates, anything that you'd like to share, let us know at charismictruth@gmail.com. Yeah, I got into all this, was watching your videos and learning from all that. So thank you. When I see that,
That's awesome. And
I
thank
know
you for
it's high quality. It's going to be a good show.
Yeah, exactly. We got Mike, my friend Mike, Mike Wilkinson, aka Stellium 7, is going to be joining us later. And we're going to talk about this, melted reality and what are his thoughts and what are his opinions on this melted past and what he thinks may be it. We'll be seeing him in the future too as well, Tim. I'm really excited about that conversation.
Yeah, he's incredible. Yeah, we've seen, he was just at Mount Meru, the summit with Jeranism, and that was incredible. He did an overview that was fantastic. He also, just a video I seen recently was with Michelle Gibson and Chad Williams, and did a lot of stuff with underground tunnels, the domes, but it's funny how people have their own, with their focus, but how all of them are starting to overlap. And people are sharing the information.
Pieces of the puzzle, basically.
Exactly, and how they're all coming together, right? And it seems like most people start with flat Earth, and then from there, it just goes, the rabbit hole's deep.
Flat Earth is the introductory.
Right.
Because, if they're lying about this, what else are they lying about?
Everything else.
We're going to find out real fast that these psychopaths are lying about everything. I mean, everything. So, and we'll go over some of that. So let's really get into, really get into the show. Let's really talk about this. Let's kind of really show you. And that's why I like the video podcast versus the podcast where you're just listening, which I like those two as well. They could serve a purpose. But the videos, you actually can see what we're seeing, and we can comment and about what we're seeing and what we're looking at.
Because when you point out specifics and you can zoom in or you use your cursor and you actually show, there's no denying what you're pointing out. I mean, you have to really change your entire perspective, your perception, and realize this is a whole new ball game.
Absolutely.
The world is not what it is.
Right. The world is not what you think it is. Absolutely. You need to just take everything you learn, throw it out the window.
Yeah,
start over, and then you have to unlearn to relearn what our true nature and reality is. And it's so many facets and there's so many angles, and again, pieces of the puzzle. And that's what we're here for, is to connect some dots. So let's kind of get right into this. Really do. And shout out to David Weiss and his Flat Earth Sun and Moon Clock. If you don't have that app, you might want to get it. I have it. Tam, I know you have it, and you get all the
I'm a blue dot. I'm a blue dot. And if there's anyone who hasn't signed up yet, if you want to use referral code when you're signing up, use FEPOEM.
FEPOEM. And you get a discount. So, okay. I want to kind of go over some of these images first before we really get into it, just to kind of really show what we've been talking about. Tam, this is what you're looking at is ruins, ancient ruins from the past. Okay. Look at this doorway right here, right?
Look how tall it is.
Look at the bricks. And these are all red bricks. You can actually see it red right here. See that?
I can see it.
That's basically, what all these bricks were and they look like. And because of this X factor, this melted incident, and I think the reason why people call it melted because it actually looked like it was melted. I grew up always thinking, hey, if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it is a duck. So it is a duck. And so how it melted is still the $1 million question. But it is interesting that we live on some type of grid, and because of the vast destruction all over this plane, you see the same thing happening all over with these ancient ruins. Where did the mud come from? And what happened? And these bricks are actually made from clay and mud. So if you
said it's all over everywhere, all over the world. They've got that clay, and everyone's made the red bricks, and all of these buildings were made of the red bricks, right?
Absolutely. And what I'm making a claim, and from my what evidence is spent hundreds of hours actually looking into the red bricks, is where these red bricks come from, and just the history of that. Everything was made by red bricks. Yep. And shout out to Tartarian Meltdown's channel.
Yeah,
he done good work in investigating and letting people know about this melted building. You got melted buildings, right? You got these mountains or mountain buildings. You got these mountains could be giant titans, right? Or some type of titan animal, right? Or we have this.
And they've talked about like this, Jack and the Beanstalk, Paul Bunyan. They've talked about, giants in the past anyway, like the pictures that you were showing in the.
We got the giants and we got titans. So the titans are the real big ones that used to roam this earth. I mean, these things were, I think, like about a mile long. These houses, right. I mean, just being the thing about being a mile big. I think in the Bible it says 300 ells. But I'm thinking either half a mile or a mile. That's a pretty big titan. So, and a lot of these.
And that's something that Stellium 7 does, is point out, like you were saying about the heart. He points out spines. It looks like the spines. It looks like animals. He can see ribs. But he's a good one for that, with the titans.
Right. For the titans. And you have tree stumps. Old trees that were broken off, and then you have buildings. So that's one of the three things that these mountains are melted buildings, tree stumps, or titans of sort. Either they're humanoids or they were giant creatures. It's one of those three. And look at this; it's melted. Okay, look at this. If you look at here,
like burned, yeah.
Charring. Look at the charring. Look at the melting right here. Okay, and these were all red bricks. Okay, what you see, a lot of this stuff is facade. If you look underneath here, they're all red bricks. You see this right here?
That was the best point. Yeah, even with columns where they look like they're white and square, as soon as you pull them, or circular, even when you pull back the covering, they're red bricks underneath. When part of it is missing, then you can see. Then you can see the red bricks underneath. It's just so obvious once you point it out.
Right, exactly. And this is the finishing of the red bricks, like the facade. So, and now you see the common theme. You see the burning, you see the scorch, you see the high heat, you see the damage, you see almost the vitrification. Look at the block. These were bricks and they're all ballooned together. You got the cement that's in between the bricks that are heated, just comes out and forms and infused together, covering it and making this small rock curtain, and fusing these bricks together and making them bigger and exploding out, protruding
that
out.
Helps. Yeah, thank you for your explanation, because that helped me wrap my mind around it. And also all the detail, all the intricate detail on the sides, how much work and effort went into how beautiful these structures were.
Yep, before in the past, absolutely.
Right.
And I think this is really good to see what's going on with this. And
the columns, because the columns will come back a lot when you point out the mountainside, what look like mountainsides, how often you'll point out those columns and the statues that are holding up the structures. And
look at the bricks up top. Like, these were the same size, everything, you know. They didn't just build this and say, oh, we're going to use different size bricks, right? Like, look at this. They use different size bricks to build this. No, this is just what happened. And this is all from red bricks. If you look over here, look on the side. You can put like
and then they just balloon and marshmallow from the heat, right? They expand and
exactly. This is probably much more smoother. Look at the charring. Maybe this was just much more smoother, and you couldn't see the brick lines right here because of the facade, but because of this heated event, you now actually see it's more rugged. You know what I mean? And this is what's left over. And this is from the old. And here's more stuff right here. Just, you know, pockets of survival. Look at the, you know, the look at the Masonic pyramid. Look at the columns. And these are all red brick buildings. These are the
what helps the most, where they call them half melts, where, like you said, the pockets of survival are there, but something was encroaching on it, or as it was melting or flowing, or whatever the event was, and then when it stopped, for that part to still be exposed, I think is fascinating.
Yep, and you see all this stuff that looks like cement because it is. Maybe just it just came out of the ran out of the
red bricks.
Mortar. This is his own world, man. And if you look up top of here, these are all bricks. It's all bricks.
Oh yeah, you can see the bottom, the top.
Columns, even the columns, the bricks. They were just brilliant brick breakers. And everything, and was about bricks. So I spent a lot of time researching how about red bricks and how they're made, because I was fascinated. Why is the whole world littered? And why, when we excavate, we see these red bricks underground, and they're not made to be underground. They're just they made massive buildings, and the reason why is because it was free.
Right. It's readily available right there, right everywhere.
Right. You know, these are magnificent. This is from the old world. From the old world.
And they expand and bubble, balloon, and marshmallow out from the heat, right?
Because of the heat. All because of the heat. That's why it looks like this. You see rubble. Like, and come on, think about it. This was all smooth back then. This was all smooth. Right? They're probably just much smaller, you know, bricks, and these all fused together. These are all red bricks underneath here.
And then the columns. Yeah, I keep looking at the columns because it's foreshadowing. Because when you start showing those, what we think of as mountainsides, how often you're going to see the columns and standing right next to each other. The windows. Yep. And then look, on the right, look at that archway.
And look at the different sizes of different
doors.
Existed with different size beams. Yeah. Look at the red bricks right here.
You can see the brick lines. That's so obvious. Yeah, when you point it out and bring it in.
See the bricks in here. You could see the bricks.
Yeah, you can see them down the bottom too, on the right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And here's some more good evidence of this right here. See how, look at the size on the left-hand side right here. This is just the size of the bricks. And you can see how they just ballooned out. This is all bricks. I mean, it just made an entire world. People live longer and much more time of these bricks. And if there were quadrillions of people living all over the place, you know.
Because look at the height. Look at the scale.
Exactly.
Massive scale.
Big rocks up there. These are what's called balloon bricks. These are balloon bricks. These are all bricks that just blew up. They fused together from this heating event. And that's why you see big boulders, even the ones coming out of here. If you look right here, You see this right here? You see this big boulder with bricks all around? They didn't just decide, oh, we're going to use a big boulder just to put right there. No, this is
in the middle of the wall. Yeah.
Ballooning out, right, because of this heated event. And you see that. You see even through the structures in town today, how these balloons, they fuse together, and they balloon out. And you see it right here.
And look at the top, all of those at the top. You can see them coming out of the building where they're not instead of the building. It's not in front of the building. It was actually coming out part of the building. I had such a hard time with that at the beginning, but it's like when you see it,
you can't see
partially, right, when it's starting to grow or expand, you can see how it was and where it is and how it's still part of itself. Yeah, look at the archway on the bottom right. The architectural designs, the engineering that they did just with bricks.
It's all bricks. It's all made out of bricks. And look at the top. This is all facade, right? So you get these big rocks because not only that, they're fused together, you got the cement pouring out and you get these rock curtains, just like here.
Yeah.
So this rock curtain right here, you get it looks like a big slab, but it's not. And these, what you're looking at, are ruins.
Yeah.
You're looking at ruins.
And then you say debris. You'll say debris later. You said in the last video too, when it was all the debris, all the.
And this is all part of, because I want to give an honest, opinion. And it's why I want you to see, because all these mountains are all over the place, even Antarctica, which we'll be discussing too. You know what I mean? So you got all of these, this melted event happening all over it. Look at this. It's all melted. I mean, you have to be able to use, I get it. This is hard for some people, but you have to just say, let me sit back and say, what the hell is going on here? Right? So the ancients were far more advanced than we are today. That's just a known fact. I mean, it's common sense.
Because the construction, right? The height, the domes,
exactly.
All the spires, all those buildings, you'll talk about the water towers, all of that beautiful architecture and details.
Yeah, look at the cement coming out of these bricks.
Yeah.
Creating this, like, stucco, this rock curtain thing. See this?
Yeah, you can still see the red bricks in. You can see the brick lines inside, the regular little brick size.
Right. There's all bricks right here, and this was just turned out. The heat had just burned this out. And these are, you're right, it's not mountains. These are all ruins. And probably on the side of these buildings are all flowing, melted buildings. We went over this before. This is just another example.
But how much time and effort would it take to build into that instead of flipping your perception and seeing that it was already there, and then all the ballooning again, marshmallowing, all that, the windows.
Right. Look at this, and this is what a lot of these mountains look like. And what you're looking at is a great example of pockets of survival that actually look at these stairs. Look at the size of this. Look at the size of these stairs. They were for for giants. Look at this doorway here. Look at this guy. Put this guy right here in his doorway. He's gonna reach there right about there.
Right.
These are for giant beings.
And all the windows, and all the brick lines down in the middle, through the middle.
Exactly. Look at the brick
more
lines.
Windows.
Right? Because this was construction, just like the bricks over here. Look at how it ballooned out. They all fused together and they pushed out. That's why you get this effect. But just use your imagination to imagine what this place was before this heated event, and how grand and beautiful
bigger.
What it was, right? Exactly. And then come to find out this is what left, and you're like, wow, this are ruins. These are ruins. And now knowing what we know now, something happened, and this is the evidence.
That's sad. That's all that's left, right?
Right. They couldn't do all of it. All they had to do was just keep us distracted and keep us not focused on our true nature reality, a reality that's around us. So that's why they gave us football games and a whole bunch of nonsense, Pokemon, because so that we don't get a chance to, right. So
look at the progression. That was perfect. So from the right, the progression over where on the left side, it looks like a mountain. What people would
this
say,
looks like newer stuff right here that they built. But look at all of this right here.
in the front, right? In the front.
Not
Exactly.
formations. This is all buildings.
That it was. You can see where it was. Yeah.
And you're looking at ruins. Look at the bricks down here. This is ruins. Look at the flow. Look at the flow. You see, this is all the melted stuff right here. This is all ruins.
And you had told me before that we're walking on the rooftops of old buildings, and I couldn't understand what you were saying, but here it makes sense where the green is, and you're walking around where the green is, and then you can see how much of the structure is still underneath with the windows and the rest of the building. But so they are walking on the rooftops of old buildings.
All buildings. We're existing on rooftops. Existing on rooftops. That's just my analysis of the research. I mean, I just get right down to the core. We're just on rooftops of buildings. Now, as some of these are, and what you have here on these rooftops that are existing, you got these big trees that are sticking out from the ground, from ground level. You got these big titans that are still existing. So you have a little bit of everything. My analysis is that these mountains are more melted buildings than anything else. So yes, I subscribe to, from my research, which I did videos, is that the Titans make up some of these mountains.
And that's the biogeology that Stellium 7 has done, where he's actually showing the different parts.
Yeah,
so that's
later, absolutely. And then you have this plant, these trees aspects, and that's why I want to keep it separate from artists or into these buildings. So
I think it's nice what you're doing is showing the buildings first, and then, like you said, then we'll show the Titans, and then we'll go to the trees, because there's so much evidence for each one, right?
Exactly. There's so much evidence for each one. You said it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But yeah, the left side looks what you think of mountains, and the right sides were obviously buildings. And so to see the transition, how it transitions from all of these are definitely buildings, 100%. Windows, doors, archways, walkways, stairs, everything. That's obviously building. And then when you go to the left, if you didn't see the right side, it would just look like, it just looks like a regular, what you think of as a mountain. And then the right side, it's a perfect transition for people who are new to this to kind of see how the progression.
Look at the back part. See the bricks out just deformed? Well, these more got fried more than these ones up here.
And the charred, look at the charred. Yeah. See, I would think of that as a stump. To me, that looks so obviously like red brick.
Of course it is. It's red brick. And look at these red bricks right here. They got bigger. Right? They're all the same size. And look at this cement in between it. Right? This got less affected.
And the bottom. Look how big the bottom was.
Exactly. Yeah. This got affected. And look at the bricks. They probably ballooned out on the walkway.
And you were saying from the grid system, the electrical grid system below, that if the heating was from below, that's how those lower, the circuit board, yes.
Right, the heat not coming from the top, coming from the bottom, which I think, that's my theory, that I'm not educated guess, my hypothesis, that the heat came from the bottom up. Or they just fried everything. And you got these bricks, they conduct energy, so it's something for it to be fried and go straight up to the top, and anything that's in it, that's burnable. So the good thing about it is that it took a long time for these to burn, but a lot of these people, these are all grave sites. Look at this.
Yes, on a massive scale, a devastating number of
a massive scale.
Because you were saying you think trillions and possibly quadrillions of people in the kingdoms.
Once you realize what these mountains are,
how big the structures are.
And all of this, you need all of the labor to put all these red bricks together to make all this. I mean, you got to remember, this place is way bigger than what they told us. We don't even have a real map. This place is much bigger than what.
And like you're saying, if these are the buildings were mountains, if you switch it around and think about like the Rockies, if you think about Appalachians, if you think about those mountains and how huge they are, if you think of them as buildings, there could be trillions
of people, kingdoms and kingdoms of people that roam this earth from a past civilizations where people live longer.
And that was another thing, that you had said before, if there was more oxygen, the people would be bigger, the fruit, the vegetables would be bigger, it would be stronger, the giants, the air would be cleaner.
You have more technology because people have been around for longer. These things can get passed on and passed on. You just had, it was just a mind-boggling world. You know, you had different types. We know that they experimented with DNA testing, and there were different kinds of beans and all kinds of stuff and things that we don't see today from the old world. And the story in the Bible says that's why the Most High apparently got mad and destroyed it because everything was corrupted. So who knows if that's true or not, but that's something to think about.
So will I gather you in mine anger and in my fury, and I will leave you there and melt you. Yea, I will gather you and blow upon you in the fire of my wrath, and ye shall be melted in the midst thereof, as silver is melted in the midst of the furnace, whereby we may serve God acceptably, with reverence and godly fear. For our God is a consuming fire.
Alright, we are back with another episode, and today we're going to be talking about something that's a little bizarre. This is known as the melted buildings theory. So basically, this theory states that many of our national parks, mountains, big old rocks, canyons are not really mountains, rocks, and canyons at all, but ancient cities that were destroyed in some kind of cataclysmic heating event, causing these buildings to melt and to get destroyed. So before I get into the evidence and proof for this theory, I want to do a pop quiz on you guys, and I want you guys to answer a question. So I'm going to show you two pictures of mountains. Now, one of these mountains is just a natural formation, and the other one is a pyramid structure built by human hands. I want you guys to guess which is which. Which one's the actual pyramid built by human hands, and which one's the mountain? If you guys guessed the one on the left that is known as Gebel Dist, you are wrong. That apparently, according to them, is a natural formation, but the one on the right is an actual pyramid. So this really makes you think. It's an actual pyramid known as Pyramid of Amen. I can't even pronounce that. I'm butchering it. But yeah, basically the one on the right is an actual pyramid structure, while the one on the left is a natural formation. Now, if you zoom in, it just looks too crazy and too symmetrical to be a natural formation. I mean, just look at it. But yeah, it really does make you wonder. And now, before I get into the melted buildings, I'm going to talk about the possible explanation as what caused this cataclysmic event. And we're going to take a look at something called a Lichtenberg figure. So a Lichtenberg figure, or Lichtenberg dust figure, is a branching electrical discharge that sometimes appears on the surface or in the interior of insulating material. Lichtenberg figures are often associated with progressive deterioration of high voltage components and equipment. So I'm going to give you a little example of a Lichtenberg figure on a piece of wood right here. Now, as you can see from that example, an electrical current is sent through that wood, forming these miniature little canyons, forming this electrical scarring-like pattern on the wood. Now, what's really interesting about the Lichtenberg figure, you can find this pattern all across the world, and I'll show you some of them. So here's an example of the Lichtenberg figure. I'm not too quite sure where this is. This is, believe it or not, the Grand Canyon from plain view. Lichtenberg figure. It appears to be as if some kind of mega lightning bolt struck the ground, causing this canyon, ripping through it, causing this Lichtenberg figure, leaving an electrical scar on the earth. There's another example in New Mexico, again, more electrical scarring. Here is more in Saudi Arabia. Here is more in Canada, more fractal patterns, more electrical scarring. But yeah, you can find this pattern all across the world. It's as if the entire world in our distant past got fried and absolutely destroyed, leaving these electrical scars. And quite possibly, this might be an explanation for the melted buildings theory. And one of the first examples for the melted buildings theory I want to talk about is the Grand Canyon. Like I showed you from Plain Eye View, it appears to be as if it's an electrical scar, as if something from the heavens came down, struck the ground, and left these electrical scarring like fractal patterns. Now, if you pay close attention to some of the mountains in the Grand Canyons, they don't really look like mountains at all, but pyramid-like structures, as if they used to be cities down there, as if an entire ancient city once existed there. I mean, just looking at some of these pictures, let me zoom in for some of these, it legit looks like an actual structure. I mean, you got 90-degree angles, you got pyramid-like structures. Some of these are just too strange looking to be natural formations. There's actually something in the Grand Canyon called the Isis Temple, and you can see 90-degree angles. It legit looks like a pyramid that was destroyed in some kind of cataclysmic event. Here's a picture right here, Isis Temple. Again, you can see a curved wall at a 90-degree angle. And all throughout the Grand Canyon, you find these structures, and they look like actual buildings. But yeah, that's the Grand Canyon. Now I want to look at Zion National Park. So this national park is found in Utah. And as you take a look at some of the pictures, it legit looks like it used to be an ancient megalithic cities with like beautiful like structures that were destroyed. If you pay close attention all around, it just appears to be as if these really were structures of some kind. Like, for example, there's this interesting pyramid-like structure in Zion National Park, and it looks very similar to temples found in India, except this is destroyed by some kind of cataclysmic event. And if you pay close attention to the structures in Zion and to the mountains, it has this interesting runoff pattern as if it melted and then froze. It's very, very interesting. But yeah, there's a chance that when you're visiting these national parks, you're actually visiting an ancient city that went through some catastrophic, cataclysmic event. Quite fascinating. All right, moving on. This is Rainbow Bridge in Utah. As you can see, it has this arch formation, and we're just told that it's from natural erosion, wind and rain, stuff like that. But it appears to be that it once was a bridge of some kind, but as the theory states, it got destroyed in some cataclysmic event, causing it to melt and get destroyed. Here's an interesting cave I found. Apparently this is a natural formation too. I'm not quite sure where this is, but it appears to be that the ceiling is like melting. I mean, in the inside you can see like pillars. Again, it's as if this used to be a structure that got destroyed in a cataclysmic event. Some of these rock bridges in these pictures that you see are connecting one rock to another rock. It's as if in the ancient past these used to be buildings with a bridge connecting one building to another, kind of like this picture of a bridge connecting one building to another in Oxford, England. Here's more interesting structures found in Zion. Interesting looking pillars. Again, these do not look natural, but we're told it's natural through wind and rain erosion. But what if it's not? What if it got destroyed in a cataclysmic event? I mean, especially this picture. Like, let me zoom in on some of this stuff. Like, look at this pillar-like interesting structure. It's as if it really was a brick building of some sort, a red brick building that got destroyed in a crazy-like event. Here's an interesting picture comparing candle wax to a mountain that appears to have a runoff-like pattern. And again, this mountain has 90-degree angles, it has lines, it has parallel lines, it has pillars of some sort, but we're told it's all natural. And again, here you can see the candle wax dripping down, and here you can see the mountain having some kind of runoff pattern like candle wax. But yeah, you can find these structures all across the world, as if the entire world got fried by this Lichtenberg-like pattern, destroying these cities. Like, for example, the Grand Canyon picture I showed you, a plain view. Imagine a city once existing there, an ancient city that possibly looked like Atlantis, and mega lightning bolts came down from the heavens, tearing through the earth, destroying, frying, melting these buildings, and leaving us the remains. Now I'm going to end this off by showing you one of the best absolute proofs of the melted buildings theory. Now this is a mountain in Shirkala, Kazakhstan. Now If you look at it, it looks like it used to be some kind of structure of some sort, and if you pay close attention, all across this mountain, it appears to have some kind of runoff pattern, as if in the distant past, something melted off of it, as if it was a structure and it was melted. And again, you can see these parallel lines as if it's an actual structure. Now, what's really fascinating about Shirkala is if you look at plain view and you look down, you can see these electrical discharge patterns that I've been talking about, the Lichtenberg figure, and it appears to be that it's heading towards this mountain. It's creating these interesting like canyons and heading towards this mountain, possibly destroying it, frying it. Another interesting thing that I discovered about this mountain is all around this mountain, you see these perfect, mysterious, spherical stones, and scientists aren't really able to give a perfect explanation for what it really is. Now, if this really is a building, it possibly could have had windows, and one guy actually had an explanation for these spherical stones, and I'm going to read it to you. This is one of the comments on the guy's video concerning these spherical stones around the mountain. I work with molten glass every day, and I believe you are definitely on the right track about the spheres. Glass is made up of sand. The intense amount of heat turns the sand into a liquid. When the sand is liquefied, it automatically turns into neatly perfect spheres when cooled very quickly. It retracts upon itself and solidifies into marbles. Now the question is, what was the extremely large flash of heat and where did it come from? So again, the explanation for these spherical stones is these are actually remains of the glass and windows that once melted off this interesting like structure, forming these neatly perfect spheres like the guy was explaining who works with glass, who's a glass blower. And you can find these spherical stones all across the world, and usually next to these spherical stones you'll always find an interesting looking mountain or hill that was possibly an ancient building. And what these spherical stones possibly are windows and melted glass that solidified and made these perfect spheres in the flash of heat. Here's another example. This is Bowling Ball Beach, California. Again, in the background, you can see the spherical stones. And if you zoom in, this is very interesting right here. This is Bowling Ball Beach, California. At the top right here, you see an interesting like brick pattern, and then you have this runoff pattern. It looks as if it's sandstone because glass is made up of sand. And as it's melting off, giving this runoff pattern at the bottom, you see the spherical stones. Like the guy was explaining, when glass is heated with intense heat and then quickly frozen, it forms into these marble-like shapes. So this is a possible explanation. Now, being the curious person that I am, I wonder, does the scriptures have anything to say about this, about the Lichtenberg figures, about the electrical scarring, about the melted buildings? And well, it kind of does. I found an interesting verse. This is Psalms 97, verse 3 through 5. So a fire goeth before and burneth up his enemies round about. His lightnings enlightened the world. The earth saw and trembled. The hills melted like wax at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the Lord of the whole earth. Wow. In Ezekiel 22:21, Ye, I will gather you and blow upon you in the fire of my wrath, and ye shall be melted in the midst thereof. The picture you see right here is from Tupiza, Bolivia. It looks like an actual melted city. It's insane.
Look at this. This is ancient technology, and like I said, it's like it is. Shut up to Wise Earth. Wise Up. His channel, he goes over this. He said he'll tell you that this was steel. That wow. that got petrified. And it could be steel. But we knew the ancients used steel. So why this couldn't be?
Wow.
You know what I mean? Or why this couldn't be. And look at the stairs on the side. This is a building. This is technology.
You showed that door that opened to nowhere last time, and that was definitely a steel door.
Could be a steel bunker or something like that. Look at that. These are ruins from a building. And these are what's pockets of survival. So this is what you're looking at. All these rocks that you see on the ground all over the place on all these mountains, they're just ruins. They're rubble. Again, Petra again. Look at them melted to the left. It looks melted because it was melted.
There's that, the half melt where you can see half the building is melted and half of it's still.
Look at the top of there. It's just
top of it's melted, yeah.
On the side of here, it looks just melted to shit. It just looks that way. I'm sorry. It looks melted. You know what I mean? I'm saying it's melted because it looks like melted ice cream. That's what, Melted
And on
it.
the right, yeah, that had on the right up here, it has the it had some of the bricks. Yeah.
Right. I don't think this is wood. This is all buildings, and this is just pockets of survival. What we're looking at.
The windows, the doors, the awnings,
Right.
all of the
And
decorative
you got
pieces.
the cement coming out of the bricks, where you get these rock curtains and these fusing together. Look at this. Here we got pockets of survival. Here was this. But from this event, this got destroyed. And this is what's left over. This is what didn't.
This is another one that makes sense when you say if it comes from the bottom, because all the lower portion is all distorted.
fried.
Yeah.
And something happened where it just froze in place. It got petrified. Just whatever happened. I don't know. You know? I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. Was there an ice age? I don't know. When this happened, why is it just looks like it stopped? Right? And it looks like it was dripping and running for a little while and it stopped. You know, but look at this. It's all red brick. All red brick. Look at this. More. And that's why I'm just going over this more in detail.
This is so obvious on the right because it looks like it probably went straight across. There's something that happened that tilted that. Yeah, look at that. Look at
This is all right. This is rubble. It's all rubble. And this is what I'm telling you right now. These were all from bricks. This is not a mountain. They didn't build this on top of a mountain. These are brick lines. This is
on the
all
bottom
bricks.
right. Yeah, you can see it in an angle down the bottom right. Yeah.
Right. This is all
because no one's going to build. How are you going to build into? Why would you put a part of a building into that mountain?
Exactly. And look at this. Look at it over here. Look how it is. If you look up here, you see like this is the roof.
Like it's flowing and taking it over, and then it stopped.
It stopped. And look at the ballooning and the charring right here. You see how it just pushed out. Look at this. This wasn't original. This pushed out. Get melted. Anybody who was in here are entombed in this forever.
And look at the bottom of the building, because if someone constructed that building, you'd go straight across, and you'd have some sheeting, shoring, you'd have everything holding it up, you'd have it supported, but it's the bottom is just dissolving. It looks like it's
It just pushed out. It was zoomed. It got more hot up here. It just pancaked out. You got rock curtains, right? Look at this. You got windows still intact. Up top of there, these are all brick bricks. This is not a mountain.
And then it starts dissolving at the bottom again. Like you said,
it pushed out. Look at the bricks pushed out up here. You see how it pushed out?
Yeah.
It just pushed out. So it melted the shit. These are entombed. Anybody that was living in here were entombed. These are like little.
That's harsh.
Little cabinets over here.
But the bottom, see how the bottom, is all dissolving. Is all.
And this is the pocket of what's left over. What's left over.
I keep trying to think how people would argue it. Like with the bottom of that other building, there's part windows, then it was the goo, and then the rest of the building. But who would do partial buildings in between a mountain, above and below a mountain on the last one? But
right, and all over the world, you have these bricks looking like this. You wonder like, what the hell's going on here? Look at this.
He's having a hard day.
Yeah, well, it's fun to be on screen with you again. Kind of when it comes to interviews, my whole journey kind of began with you. Actually, the first interview I ever gave was with Philip Druginen. Yeah, and then the very next interview I did was with the two of you together. Yep. And then we did, I think, 2 or 3 together after that. And so that was fun because both of you kind of recognized early on that there might be something to my wacky research. So that was fun. So Absolutely. it's been I don't know how many years now, 4 years or something we've had many conversations through the telephone, but
yes. And you wasn't lying. I remember I talked to you for 45 minutes, and my phone bill was like $175.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm calling you.
You're not the first person to make that mistake, actually. Mike from Hangman 1128, the guy who's done some of the best research on the trees. He and I had a conversation once. It cost him like $70. So. He was gun shy after that. He didn't even want to answer the phone.
Wow, yeah, it's expensive. It's ridiculous. So
it's worth it. Valuable information, though, huh?
Absolutely. I'm glad that you're doing good. So, last time you talked to Alex, what's going on with him?
I had lunch with him today.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I told you. They're good friends. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the first time we've seen each other since I got back, because I got back and I had a very busy work week, and so we got together and I gave him a little recap of my experiences in Mexico, and I went on to California and saw a family there and spent some really wonderful time with my mom. First time in 5 or 6 years since I've been in the States. And then from there I went down to San Diego and met with a bunch of friends actually. There were about 7 of us at dinner, some old college buddy and an old friend that I used to live with in Seattle, and then another friend who was down at Acapulco that I spent a lot of time with down there.
Okay. So did you have any sun in California? Did you get any sunshine?
Yeah, I had some really beautiful days, and then the first couple of days I got there, it poured buckets, and they've had more water there than they've had in many years. So everything was lush and green, and the lake in my hometown was almost full. And last time I was there, it was at like 25%. So it was cool to see my hometown in a different light.
Wow, that's awesome. I bet Alex would love to go to Mexico, man. I think he would have a good time.
Alex doesn't want to go anywhere. He hates travel. He's like, the thought of getting on a plane is like, no. You're gonna have to have a major truther conference here in Spain, and then he'll show up. Shout
out to a conspiracy music guru. Alex, he's a good guy, great guy.
He's got a new video out too. Yeah, he's just
the one and only.
Yeah.
Yes, one and only. He is the man, Flat Earth man, man. He is the man. Definitely shout out to him. Definitely, man. So look, the reason why we got you on the edge of the seat is because, like I said, I know we talked about this, years ago about this topic, about this meltology and these melted buildings phenomenon, this new thing that has been coming up. And I know how your feelings are about it. Also, too, is that people that don't know is that we did videos before in the past explaining your research about these titans, and before people know how I feel, and I'm honest, that we looking, these mountains are one of 3 things that from doing my research, they're either gigantic humanoids or gigantic animals that previous civilizations and timelines existed here on this realm, or it's melted buildings of some sort from this X factor. And the reason why we call it X factor is because we don't know exactly how these buildings melted, and then all of this is just our hypothesis, and a hypothesis is an educated guess on what's going on. But Mike, you took us last time when we did a video together inside of this cave, this Titan elephant, and showed empirical evidence that where the eardrum was and different these cave systems, and that it basically what we were looking at is a petrified elephant. You want to elaborate on that real quick before we go into it?
Yeah, well, it wasn't an eardrum. It was inside the sinuses, but just one more thing to the list that you didn't mention was the giant trees as well, right?
Yes, excuse me. Yes,
as far as the mountains go.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, what has it been now? About 6 years since I started looking at mountains differently, and when you get onto the whole flat Earth topic, alternative cosmologies, it opens your eyes to the possibility that maybe there are other things that we didn't know about that are not what we were told. And there's a mountain here in the town that I live in Spain called Montgo that looks a hell of a lot like an elephant. And I always thought it was cool. It was cute. It's there's the elephant, but it never occurred to me that it might be a former being, which there's a lot of reasons why that couldn't be true in the mainstream model. And so I started to look into it initially with Google Earth, and was shocked after about an hour of looking at it tilting in 3D and kind of scrolling around the mountain. And I'd already lived here for about 7 years at that point, so I was well familiar with the mountain and have hiked it many times. And when I started to look into it, I started to find all sorts of anatomical correlations on the macro level. That the head was shaped like a head, and there were like 2 cutouts in the mountain right where the head would meet the shoulders, and between where the legs would be, there was a deep crevice of a canyon that I'd hiked up multiple times, and there was a discoloration on the mountain that was like a quarter moon shaped discoloration exactly where an ear should be. And so after about an hour or two of examining it, I was like, this is ridiculous. There's so many things that are lining up. And before I ever got on the subject, I was already aware of the topic of pareidolia, which is this idea that we're seeing things and we're just kind of projecting our imaginings onto those things. And so I took a step back and I was like, well, let's look at this from a methodical approach. And so I got out my anatomy books and I started looking at things, because there's a cave that is right where an eye socket should be if that were really a head, and it's exactly there, and it's shaped like an eye. And and I'd been in the cave many times and had always wondered about how did this form, because it didn't make any sense. That the mainstream model is that the mountains are formed through tectonic activity and they're colliding and going upward, right?
Yes.
And then that's breaking off in different ways and eroding, and that's why we have all these different shapes of mountains. And so there were a variety of reasons that made no sense, and the cave was one of them. There were so many features in the cave that didn't make sense at all with that explanation. And so I decided I was going to go back up and do more investigation. And I'd been up at the eye probably 6 or 7 times at that point, just for hiking, just for pleasure. And so I got out my anatomy books and I got online and I was looking at different 3D anatomy renderings where I could, change things from different directions. And as a chiropractor, which is my profession, I was already aware that the eye sockets of most vertebrates are comprised of 7 different bones, and those bones meet to create different fissures where like the optic nerve goes and blood vessels, and also these meeting points of the bones are what are called sutures. And so those are in specific places in vertebrates. And so I had this list of things that I would expect to find if there was any truth to the crazy idea. And I went up there, and on that first examination, I found 10 different, very, very specific anatomical correlations. And when you start to look at odds and think of things from a mathematical perspective, like what, you roll dice and you roll double sixes. What are your odds of rolling them 5 or 6 times in a row? Very, very low, right? So I knew if I found something that looks like an elephant, head is right, the neck is right. There's if you look at it from above, you can see what looks like a spinal ridge, and coming off from that ridge on both sides are these lines going down that look like a rib cage. Already I was at 10 anatomical features just with the overview that I was doing. And then once I was up in the eye, there was another 10 added to that list. So when you're talking about something having 20 specific anatomical features, it starts to be less of a crazy idea and more of a possibility.
Right, so more real scientific evidence, right, of what's going on rather than
So
hello, and welcome to Unveiling a Titan, the first of what will be several videos in a series in which I hope to provide conclusive proof that Titans actually existed, or at the very least, a lot of compelling evidence that will spark curiosity. This is a famous mountain on the east coast of Spain, in the Costa Blanca, that's called Montgo. It's also known as the elephant. So you can see the shape of the head here, the upper back, and then tapering off. And in fact, there's a plateau here that's higher than the town in this area that looks a lot like a trunk that's been extended when you see it from the right angle. I've been hiking this mountain for about 8 years now. I've been inside of the eye on numerous occasions. There are several other caves that I've also been in. But it's really only been for the last year that I've been looking at this mountain with different eyes and was exposed to some new ideas that caused me to look at it differently, and I began gathering evidence. I've taken lots of photographs and videos. I've been in places that I probably shouldn't have been and even injured myself a couple of times. About a year ago, I got exposed to the idea of Titans. It wasn't the first time. As a kid, I was exposed to the mythology, the Greek mythologies, and watched this movie, The Clash of the Titans, saw the Kraken get turned to stone by the Medusa's head. And I ran across a couple of videos by Mud Fossils University talking about the idea that fossilization could happen much, much faster than we realized. Also looking at the idea that there was probably a worldwide flood that involved a great deal of mud that caused lots of creatures to be encased and then eventually fossilized. Another video by Jay Dreamers did this Petrified Titans video, which was very fascinating, and he made a pretty interesting case, I felt, for the possibility that Titans actually existed. And that was a real surprise to me because I grew up near a mountain in California called Chief's Peak, and it looks a lot like an Indian lying on its back, and I was always fascinated by the resemblance, but it never really occurred to me that, well, maybe it was. So I started seeing photographs like this and others. And it definitely sparked my imagination. This is Paul Bunyan with his buddy Blue, I believe, Big Ox. The myth goes that the Grand Canyon was formed by him dragging his axe behind him. He used to go around North America cutting down gigantic trees with his axe. So maybe there's some truth to that tale. So, one of the first things a skeptic will think when they look at these kinds of pictures is that people are suffering from something known as pareidolia, which is when you see things that aren't really there. You look up at a cloud and you see a dragon or a face or something, and obviously that's not really in the cloud. And so it's easy to make the same mistake when you're looking at these kinds of photographs. But in Jay Dreamer's video, I started thinking a little differently when I photographs like this, because I've been living near this mountain that is known as the Elephant for the last 8 years, and when I saw these images I thought, maybe it's not just a mountain that looks like an elephant, maybe there's actually more to it than that. So some of these might just be rocks that take that shape, that form, but you never know. Some of them might actually be fossilized elephants. And if that's the case, then everything we know about geology is based on erroneous thinking, and we need to start to revisit these different ologies. And in the last year and a half since I first got exposed to this idea, a lot of other interesting topics have come along. the idea that maybe our entire historical timeline has been manipulated and large segments of time have been injected. A lot of people are studying the works of Anatoly Fomenko, who makes those suppositions.
So I spent I spent the next year really going deep into that. I made a video series called Unveiling a Titan. First video is just an overview. Second video is all about the eye itself and all of the anatomical features that are present in the eye socket. Later on, I was there with friends, and one of them pointed out a structure that I hadn't noticed before. I had already hypothesized that there's this section of the cave that kind of juts up, and it looks almost like a wave that's about to crash. And I thought, wow, that's exactly the right place for an eyeball. And it looks like the remains of an eyeball. And I was there with my friends, and one of them noticed that the whole back side of that structure was covered in a 10-inch thick layer of quartz crystal. So it was this big stony structure jutting upward, and the whole back side was covered with crystal. And I already had a theory at that point that fat petrifies to quartz in varying ways. So fat, blood plasma, which is primarily fatty chain acids, and fascia, ligament, tendon, disc, all of these things in my crazy worlds, when they petrify to quartz. And so that just was more confirmation. And just in the eye socket alone, there's almost 20 anatomical correlations, which is a huge, huge number if you're thinking about it from a probability perspective. You had a question?
Oh, yeah. Interesting that you say that these crystals, because during our research that we found a lot of these crystals coming from these also Tartarian, I call it Tartarian red brick buildings, but maybe they're coming from different sources of crystal because of this petrified event, this cataclysmic event, this maybe ancient silica world. I mean, there's a couple of different things, but it's interesting that you say that, and it does make sense of what you're saying. Interesting that I also, during my research, doing this, is that I found that these little crystals were coming out of these buildings. But to hear you say that you're coming from the different body parts, which is I already know that the Titans and the Titan animals is the truth. I mean, there's overwhelming evidence, just like this flat plane realm we live on, that there were these Titan animals and these Titan beings that existed.
And we're also talking, Rich, also about if all these people were entombed, if the event happened so quickly and they were entombed, there would be a lot of
petrification.
Absolutely. That's actually a good point. And that's what this is all about. This is all about connecting the dots, kind of figuring out, hey, from different different people's perspective on this topic. Because it's it is challenging, and there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. I have a friend called Wise Up, and he has a different perspective on a lot of these things. He's a very intelligent guy, but he has a different perspective. Mike has a different perspective, and I think it's very important.
I have a lot of respect for Wise Up's work, and I think that he's spot on when it comes to the combination of volcanic ash combining with salt water to cause petrification as well, especially as it infiltrates wood. So a lot of the stony structures that we see around the world that are these megalithic sites that they've excavated, that they're barrows that around England, they're areas that look like boats, right, with the ribs of the boats, but everything's made of stone. And I think his conclusions about that are spot on, that they were wood originally, but the ash and the salt water infiltrated those. And so, that's
absolutely. And if you guys don't know who Wise Up is, I mean, he's got amazing, I've been looking at him for years. He's amazing work, amazing about what he knew about the ancients were very advanced. And where we just re-engineered everything what they did from the ancients, from concrete and all kinds of steel and this technology. I think that is a very good channel. He's on YouTube. Wise Up. Shout out to Wise Up too as well. But yeah, you're right, man. But let me ask you a question. Man.
Wait, I just want to say one thing. Going back to the crystals, it's important to understand that crystals constantly grow, and they can grow very quickly. I showed a video on my channel at one point where they're basically just they're starting with a tiny crystal and they're putting it in solutions and hanging it. And within the space of 40 or 50 days, you can get a crystal that's that big.
No shit.
No shit. So a lot of what you see could have been formed after whatever the event was.
Right.
And I think also when it comes to the quartz, you were showing me some pictures before we started recording. I think a lot of what you're seeing there is the remains of tree, actually. And quartz is found riddled throughout the trees. My belief, my theory is that the sap of the trees is petrifying to quartz. That's also a hotly contested topic by certain people in the truth community, but there's plenty of evidence for that. So there's a lot of different ways that the quartz could come about, and the building, based on what you showed me before we started, I have a hard time imagining that that's actually building. My first thought is tree, because if you take something like a cedar and you think of it, we're talking about mega trees, right? Like Avatar trees that are miles wide at the base that stretched up into the heavens, and when they were taken out by the cataclysm or cataclysms, a lot of, if you look at how cedar breaks down, you get the banding. So a lot of what the meltology people are pointing at and saying, this is a building, you can see the layer to the brick, and there's the mortar between, and then there's the red, and then there's the white, and a lot of that is actually just cedar grain. And then when it breaks down to red earth and sand, and a lot of our, one of the problems I have with meltology as a whole is the name. I think that there's a lot of evidence that certain mountains around the realm are building. You can see brick in the rubble.
Right.
But the problem with the name meltology is there's no melt. So you can see breakdown and rubble and even flow, but if you think about what happens when you take sand and you melt it,
it turns into glass.
Right. That's called vitrification, right?
Well, yeah, that's what
there are some pictures floating around now. Initially, when the theory came out and those 6-hour videos were going around, everyone's like, everything's a melted building, the whole realm, there was no evidence whatsoever of melt in any of those pictures. Now they found sites where there's melt. You can see what was probably like a giant kiln or something where the insides, it's just literally dripping down, and that is glassy and it's melted. So you've got examples of melt there, but the vast majority of what people are calling melted buildings exhibit zero signs of melt. And as soon as you start to question them on that, they're like, you need to watch more videos. You need to see, you need to watch this 6-hour video. It's like, show me your best evidence. And that there are a lot of people who think that they found conclusive evidence that are making grandiose claims. Great claims require great evidence. And
I totally agree with that.
And I wasn't seeing it. And then also the guy who came up with the theory in the first place is a total jerk. And actually, he's worse than a jerk. He's an asshole. So, and he came after my channel and went off on 2 different rants at 2 different times with his conniption fit chicken scratch all over the place, and debunked my research without addressing a single point in my research. All he did was got on Google Earth and started making a bunch of claims about what he was seeing and drawing in a frantic way. And Jerry Camp is an asshole.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree that because we talked about this this a long time ago. This is nothing new. How he did that was wrong, and it wasn't scientific, and he didn't give you any credit for what you were actually saying, and that's why
he didn't even bother to review the evidence. He just assumed that there was no evidence, and then went on live to try and prove that there was no evidence with his opinions, and his opinions don't matter.
That's the problem. And he's not the only one in the community. You got these people who just don't want to give.
Well, there's a lot of that in the meltology crowd, and there are people who jump ship because of it, that were originally on board with the idea.
I think it's sad that it's like that, because you have to remain open minded, and then you can't just say, "Oh, this is what it is," without failing. Because what I've noticed, Mike, is that that during this evolution of knowledge and understanding what the hell's going on here, is that excuse me, that I have to sometime say, "Oh, I thought it was this way." And I have to say, no, well, maybe I have to change my viewpoints, all right? Because I know how to put my pride to the side. I know how to say, oh, wow, I didn't, oh, yes, that looks, that I can't change this because I'm stuck on that. I don't like people like that. And I don't think that people should be that way. I think you should be able to have an intelligent conversation with intelligent people talking about
and it's coming from someone who's a little new to all this. It's a lot of information, and it's coming at you from all different directions, and people you respect and people you think, and then you hear something different, but it's so much information.
Varying degrees of quality.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think
I've said in many of my presentations and in my live streams, I think that when we're talking about all these different subjects, whether it's Tartaria or mud floods or World's Fairs or meltology, that there's truth to all of it. And the problem is people get hung up on their pet theory, and they try and apply their theory to everything, and then they start excluding all the other stuff, and then they get defensive because they're making outrageous claims and people are challenging them on it. And so for me, it's like, is the answer A, B, C, or D? It's like it's usually E, all of the above in many cases, and that's what I try and bring to the table. And it would be nice if people were a little less, confrontational and more open-minded, and actually came with evidence before they started making grandiose claims.
Or just come with even an intelligent conversation. You don't have to be like, oh no, because there's some people, I'm not going to name no names because that's not what we're here for. But there's people.
I won't name names either anymore.
I remember when I was researching mud floods in Tartaria, 5 years ago. And people were like, oh no, you're crazy, and there's no way. I mean, I used to have arguments with
There's no evidence of a worldwide flood. Like every civilization in the world has that in its historical, mythological, religious record, and probably multiple.
And this old world that I was trying to, show people. And I remember, even you had so-called truthers that were like, oh no, and then now everybody's going. Now that the cat's out the bag, now everybody's jumping on board. Now everybody understands to see what's going on about this old advanced civilization before us. So I totally agree. There's some things that we differ on certain things, but that's okay though. I don't want to hang around people that agree with me 24/7, 365, because how can you learn? How can you grow? I like to be challenged, just like I like to challenge other people's thought. Like I learn a lot from you and your research, and I will continue. Like I said, I value your research, I value your thoughts, I value your opinions, and I value your friendship. So this, this is important. I think we all had that kind of approach when these things, and it's to respect, and and just like you said, to kind of, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
Right. And the evidence, and just the overwhelming amount of evidence that he provides with, especially the trees, with the Titans, with the mountain tower, how they look, it's just overwhelming and incredible to get to. When you start seeing it, it's hard not to see it. It's hard to unsee when you pointed it out.
Exactly. And Tim, I think it's also important to say is that, hey, you have these people with different opinions and different research, but if we can get everybody sitting at a table and uncovering rather than fighting over this nonsense, because that's what it is nonsense, that we can have better advancements and better understanding of what's going
together,
on.
yeah.
About this knowledge and about this just this information. But there are a lot of truthers that are hitting out of the park. There are a lot of people that are evolving with this knowledge and with this thing. I have a question for you. Antarctica, right? Because this is what this show is basically about, and the name of this show is called Antarctica. Is it ice or crystal? And from what are your thoughts about Antarctica, about that 200-foot so-called ice wall? And maybe it's not ice, and maybe it's actually crystal, or a little bit of both. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you haven't shown me anything as far as the crystal theory, that is convincing to me. As far as what's down there, there's old maps that are without the ice and that sort of thing, and we have this helicopter footage of and photographs of boats that are up next to it, and they're having cranes to lift up so they can just get onto the plateau. Yeah. So is that really an ice ring that's going around our realm, or is that just a small section of somewhere that has ice like that they're giving us, and that's all part? You've got the map on your wall back behind you.
Yes.
I don't know if there's any truth to that map or not. It seems to work for a lot of different things when it comes to navigation, and it answers a lot of questions, but I don't think it answers all of them. And then you get into the map wars within the community as well. And oh no, if you're pushing the AE map, you're controlled op and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know, unless you go down there yourself, how are you really going to know?
We know, hey, is the Earth flat? We know that such and such, so we know it's flat. And the problem is we don't have of what's just going on. And I think
you go down and check out for yourself, right?
I think it definitely measures flat. We see too far, whether it's microwave or GPS
laser,
or
sonar,
or laser, or periscopes, rail guns. It just goes on and on and on. But for me, the long distance footage is what's most convincing. Stuff like from Jay Tolan, where he's up in the the planes with his massive infrared and the large lenses, and he's seeing 700 and more miles away, and that's a globe killer. So I don't really care ultimately what the shape is. I kind of identify as a toroid earther. I think we might be on the accretion disk of a toroid. And that ultimately we're in a flat place, but are we on the inside of something? Or I don't know. There's infinite plane. There are all these theories, and until I see something that's absolutely conclusive, and how could it be unless you can get outside of it? And that doesn't seem to be possible either.
I think that's a good answer. Sometimes you have to say is I don't know. And I think that the reason why that the AE map, the azimuthal equidistant projection map, that was made in 1892 by a cartographer named Alexander Gleason, is good, because that's not only that the map that it's an official USG map that the Navy actually uses today, but I think it's also it's a standard map to kind of explain that we do live in a container. And that it kind of explains from north to south. But I also think there was a lot of hiding done when revealing that map, even back in 1892.
It's a great placeholder. It's like the whole thing with Tartaria, where everyone starts going, well, Tartaria, it was this worldwide civilization, and and there's all this evidence, and then all the critics are like, no, it wasn't worldwide. And the point was that what we were looking at was pyramids everywhere, star forts everywhere, Tartarian architecture, or Greco-Roman, whatever you want to call it, is everywhere.
Domes
places
everywhere.
that it shouldn't be, at times that it shouldn't be. So Tartaria was a great placeholder name for revisionistic history, alternative research into these topics as a whole. And so the people that threw it under the bus, I think that they were missing the point, which is that it was a placeholder term. We weren't, you know, a lot of the researchers
concept.
weren't trying to make claims that it was everywhere. Well, some were, but you know, people get into the subject, they don't know a whole lot about things, and they think they know a lot about it, and sudden, you know, it's the Dunning-Kruger effect for truthing. So,
but to get back to the map real quick, and you're talking about the accuracy, I think off the coast of Japan, they just found, was it 7,000 islands? So how accurate are the maps anyway? 7,000, not just a couple, not a few, but I mean, that many found, found 7,000 islands.
Shout out.
This is in the mainstream narrative. I haven't heard this.
Shout out to David Weiss pointing that out. They found 7,000 action islands, and what I think what's going on is, I think that these islands are basically tips of these buildings that are existed, and the ground floor is really the sea floor. The ground level is actually sea level. That's why we have all these underworld cities. But it's an interesting point that you made, and that what Wise Up made, is that the water levels was way much higher than what they were. And eventually they did recede it, but not to the point where to where they are now. And maybe that they were. There's a lot of truth to that. Now, when, I don't know. I can tell you that through all the ancient maps, that maybe this place was flooded several times. Maybe there were different times of resets, and these resets are all intertwining together, and we're just seeing the remains of them. And because
the entire realm has been terraformed, there's no doubt about that. There's all kinds of artificial coastline and artificial islands, but also there's a lot of old maps that suggest that, like pyramids, for example, that possibly built on top of tree stumps. So to say that the islands were all buildings, to me that's a reach. But you know, maybe the top of what's poking up was once a building, and it was on top of something else. But it's
there's also the concept, like Vibes of Cosmos is shown, and also that in Prague, that clock in Prague, where it shows what if we're here and it keeps moving, everything keeps moving around, comes back, and then it kind of uncover what was there before, and it, as the global warming or whatever, as it's moving away, all the land that was there could be covered in ice. It could move, it could warm up again when the sun moves around again. That
6,000 year.
Yeah, thank you. But I mean, other concepts.
I think it's fun to ponder. That, you know, this ties into the reverse image of the moon being a reflection, and that we're in just like one of the craters of the moon, or not of the moon, but that the moon is actually showing us the greater realm, and that our little AE map is actually just a small portion of that. It's very interesting when you look at the overlays. It seems compelling, but is it true? I don't know. You know, is it a hollow Earth? Is it a concave? There's a lot of possibilities. I thought the Norb theory approach, you know, Martin Kenny's cosmic egg that he was showing, you know, 6-7 years ago. That's very interesting. The outer rings, we've got these old Tibetan maps that are showing the outer rings with all the extra continents, extraterrestrial, you know. So
space.
All of that is up for grabs for me. I'm not. I think the mistake that people are making is they're getting attached to one over the other, and then there's infighting about it instead of people just keeping an open mind and realizing, unless I can get outside of it and see it, I don't know for sure.
A lot of that's by design too. You got these shills that come into the community to try to break things up, to try to cause division, and just to kind of keep people stuck. And not really knowing the truth, just to kind of do some shake up. And there's literally people who are paid to do that. So we know that's a fact. To come into the community, seen it several times, and to kind of make a disruption with a lot of this stuff. So you got a little bit of that going on too. If not a lot.
Opposition, very
add confusion, right? Yeah. The deception,
controlled opposition, and then exactly just to kind of make the whole thing look retarded and stupid. But we know we're smarter than that. We have to be smarter than that and actually look past that. So, you know, but I would like to, me and Tam would like to have you on our next show to connect some dots with us about what your research is. I know we already had you on before previous years on Connecting the Dots, and I'm going to send the link to Tam so she can watch our original show on Connecting the Dots, which is amazing. And you definitely will like it, but like to come in and kind of like expand on some of your research with your rocks, which I love. I'm a big fan of, because knowing that we know that all of these beings, and like I said, going to what we were talking about before, these titans were huge, and they're the ones that terraformed this earth in the beginning. And why do you think we have to mine? We get all this iron, we get all of this stuff, this pink Himalayan stuff from these titan animals and these titan beings. So it definitely makes sense that a lot of that we're seeing is a mixture of everything. But we'd definitely like to have you back on over with that with you, and come back and help us connect some dots on your finding with these with your video unveiling the Titan, and also your extensive research on these rocks, and actually kind of explain and connect some dots. I think that would be an excellent move.
Yeah, I've gone deep into the catastrophism idea and how that manifests as petrification, and what are the causes of that, and are there potentially a variety of different causes? And I believe there are, whether it's volcanic, like we talked about with Wise Up, or electrical plasma. And in fact, if you think about the Ring of Fire, all of the volcanoes, we only have certain ones that are active at any given time. Imagine if they were all active at the same time, and the amount of ash that they would have spewed up into the atmosphere. And they've just in the last year or two, you've got some of the most amazing footage of the largest electrical storms they've ever seen. And it's all volcanic. So as soon as you got the volcanic ash up there, it's the medium through which all of this lightning can take place. So it's
Richard,
lightning storms the likes of which you've never seen.
It's interesting that you say that, and since you said that, let's pause right there, and I'm going to share my screen and actually play what these French scientists were talking about, exactly what you just said. So let me just share my screen right now and actually show exactly what you was just talking about. It's funny that he said that, right, Tam?
That was perfect timing. Absolutely.
Perfect timing. Okay, so these French scientists are trying to figure out what is this destruction in these buildings and what happened before in the past. And she basically said to say word for word the same thing what you just said. So let's have a look at this.
Je pense que quand on fait une découverte de ce type-là, on ne sait pas que ça va changer le cours de votre vie, mais on ne peut pas lâcher prise. C'est un petit peu, je ferai la comparaison, c'est un peu comme si un détective est sur les traces d'un tueur en série, d'un serial killer, il ne va pas lâcher prise.
In Perpignan, France, at the French National Centre for Scientific Research, Corti and a team of physicists analysed the destruction pattern. Because the debris impacted the sites from above, they looked to the sky for natural phenomena. But what could deliver such a rapid blast of high-intensity heat? Corti gets a clue. An accident report from emergency services who have been investigating the death of someone struck by lightning. Incredibly, at the accident scene, the emergency workers uncovered a familiar material. The same plastic polymers Corti found across the Harbor Plains.
Et là, je dis, oulala, mais ça, c'est pas de la contamination, ça va pas du tout, parce qu'il a absolument pas les caractéristiques d'un plastique industriel.
Industrial plastic is formed by combining and processing the byproducts of crude oil. It has a unique molecular structure. But the plastic polymers recorded at the accident scene are different.
nous avons pu procéder en fait à une identification sur les effets de la victime, des traces de foudre, et constater qu'effectivement, il y avait eu transformation de la peau, transformation des effets en polymère. Nous avions affaire à des phénomènes plasma. Donc, les phénomènes de foudre déclenchent des plasmas électriques qui transforment en fait les aérosols en nanoparticules. Et pourquoi ces nanoparticules sont si importantes? Et c'est ces mêmes oxydes de titane en nanofeuillets que j'avais identifiés dans la matrice polymère des plastiques de tellélane. Je pourrais vous faire une liste de tous les sites.
The plastic polymers found on the body of the person struck by lightning were the same as the ones Corti found in the Akkadian archaeological excavations. Her analysis has shown that the plastic she uncovered wasn't pollution after all, but a naturally occurring plastic polymer created by lightning. Corti has a hunch that lightning was responsible for the destruction of the Akkadian sites across the Harbour Plains. But how could such a large lightning storm actually form? After decades of analysis, Corti has developed a theory that she believes explains it: a dust bomb. It requires a massive injection of dust high into the atmosphere, likely from a volcanic eruption. As this large amount of dust moves between the troposphere and the stratosphere, it creates friction, and the air becomes charged with static electricity. The electric field becomes so great that it rips atoms apart and creates plasma channels. When these channels connect, they allow the electricity to flow, and lightning is formed. As this huge amount of dust falls to Earth, it generates an incredibly powerful but localized lightning storm. When it touches down, the energy release is massive.
Donc, quand on a affaire à des phénomènes de foudre, on est à de l'hypervitesse, c'est de l'hypervélocité. On est à plusieurs Mach, on est à Mach 10, donc on est à des vitesses hypersoniques. Il y en a qui ont comparé ces manifestations aux effets des bombes atomiques. On est sur une déflagration hyper ponctuelle. La puissance de l'énergie est concentrée dans ce canal de foudre et avec une concentration extrêmement importante. Tellarmar qui a été totalement déstabilisé, qui est tombé intact, et en fait, ça se fait en quelques microsecondes, donc ça a dû être quelque chose de remarquable.
The heightened dust needed for the phenomenon to occur could explain the thick dust layer found at Tel Leilan. Corti's analysis shows it was deposited over only a number of days. It would also explain the soot layer found across the region, intense heat caused by lightning. But it's proved impossible for Corti to date the destruction layers across each site, for certain, to the Akkadian period. And without a date range connecting the sites, there's no way of linking Corti's theory to the collapse of the Akkadian Empire. But it was...
I want to go back to that and kind of like stop it right there. And I wanted to kind of just kind of show that on that what you're saying. Could be a lot of truth into what you're saying and that possibility. So what are your thoughts on that video?
It's very interesting. Obviously, it's all put in the context of mainstream physics. So
sometimes
when she's talking about the atoms separating and the plasma between them, I have no idea if there's any truth to that or not.
Right.
But when it comes to the volcanic ash and large amounts of it layering down, absolutely. I think Wise Up has shown lots and lots of evidence of that occurring in many parts of the world. Also, if you take Mount St. Helens as an example, there are mainstream geologists that have examined the slurry flows that came after the volcanic eruption there. And in the space of 3 to 6 hours, like many meters of volcanic flow ash were laid down with micro layering. So that kind of debunks the mainstream narrative when it comes to sedimentary layering and how long it takes for these layers to form, because that's literally happening in hours, just like what she was describing in the video. So that's one aspect. And then when it comes, like a lot of my channel, I've focused on looking into these ideas surrounding the possibility of instant petrification, because we have petrification in the mainstream narrative, which takes hundreds of millions of years, and it's this slow infiltration of the minerals and things that are surrounding wood or different creatures or whatever, and they're working their way in slowly over, these mind-boggling amounts of time. But whether you're talking about volcanic ash, high mineral content waters will also create petrification in a short amount of time. I've mentioned zillions of times Mother Shipton's cave in the UK. People go and they hang things from ropes, and the water drips down the rope, and then it drips around the object, and then it encases the object in mineral, and then eventually that works its way in. There's a lake called Lake Natron. I can't remember where it is. I should know that, but it's got very highly caustic, acidic waters with very large mineral content. Creatures fall in and they don't get out because they die, and then they petrify. So that can happen with mineral content waters. It can happen with volcanic ash.
Sort of like Utah, right? Is that what you're saying? Sort of like the Salt Lake Midian?
Yeah, like really high content mineral waters will encase things and then eventually petrify them. And then you've got this idea of petrification through electricity or plasma. And there's a channel called Thunderbolts Project that they look a lot into an electric universe model. And there's a video by one of their members named Mungo Jup called Instant Fossilization. And he talked about different creatures that are found petrified in the process of eating another creature. These concretions that have like crabs, and the crabs are in a position that tells you that they were
something
alive.
instantly.
Yeah, it was a very quick thing. And then he talks about an example in Canada where high tension wires went down and they laid across a row of tree stumps that they cut down trees by the side of the road, and the wires were laying with the current flowing through them. They didn't short out, and so the current was going for hours. And when they examined the stumps later, the stumps had turned to stone, and not just the stump, but the entire root structure of the tree underneath the ground had turned to stone. And this is with high tension wires in a matter of hours. There's a video I've shown. It's on my channel. It's like a short little 2-minute, 3-minute video. I think it's called Instant Petrification. And there's a guy with a big channel that does all kinds of different science experiments. And one of the experiments that he did was creating rubies in a microwave. And what he did is he's got 2 different powders that are chemical compounds. I can't remember the names of them. And he mixes these powders together, and then he puts them in a crucible, which in this case was basically like a thick votive candle, like glass that's half an inch thick. And he mixes the powders in there. I think he put in a little bit of steel wool also, so that the current could go through the steel wool and permeate the powder. But in a microwave, and a microwave has what's known as a magnetron, so they're pumping out a lot of power. And basically he's got this votive with the powders, and then he's got a ceramic lid on top that can vibrate so that the plasma from the microwave can work its way in and interact with these materials. And in the space of 10 seconds, he's creating rubies. In 10 seconds. Now, ruby, if you think of the hardness scale, diamond being the hardest, they tell us, like I learned in school, it was like It was 1 million pounds of pressure for 1 million years creates a diamond.
Yeah.
And why
They're big numbers. They're big
diamonds in a short amount of time, right?
So
that's the hardest on the Mohs scale, and ruby is the second hardest. So this guy in the space of 10 seconds converts a couple of powders into a stone that's the second hardest stone that we know of. So to me, that's 100% evidence that rapid petrification through plasma is just a fact. It's not a theory. And then the question is, how big were the plasma storms? And if we're inside of a dome and you think of one of those Tesla balls, and if a God-sized storm hit, what could that petrify? Probably a whole heck of a lot in a very short amount of time. So there's lots and lots of examples of these different ways in which things can petrify. Artificial petrification, like the rubies and other things, is it's just a fact. And there were guys in the 1800s that knew how to convert flesh of different types into stone, and we don't know how they did that because their secrets died with them. But my guess is that they were probably using what's known as water glass, which is like a silicate of some sort.
And I was just going to say that our previous past, where there was more silica, around, and that's why these things became, petrified. It was because maybe a lot of things was much more and made of the silica.
A lot of people talk about the silica era, especially when referring to the trees, because we have Devil's Tower, we have all these basalt columns and everything. It's a hotly contested idea, but there's a lot of people that are like, well, those kinds of forms couldn't support life as we know it. So it would have had to have been a completely different kind of biology. I think it's far more likely that there was a transmutation of elements that took place. So instead of giant silica trees growing, I think what's more likely is when the plasma struck them, if that's what it was, that the elements that were in the normal trees, like, we think of the sequoias, but on a much larger scale, that those materials within the trees, the heartwood and the bark and all of the sap of different types, there's 2 different kinds of sap in each of the trees, that all of that is converted into other materials. And I think those are the materials that make up a lot of our periodic table of elements, if not the entire table.
Just getting into alchemy, like Crow 777, how much he covers a lot of that.
I'm not up to date on his stuff, so I don't know what he's covering. But if you think about, I mean, I think that we have electrical plasma transmutation of element, but we also have biological transmutation. And the example I always come back to is the simplest one of all, which is the egg. If you look at a chicken's diet in the course of its daily life, and it's eating whatever's on the ground, the calcium that's in the shell of the egg far outweighs the calcium that the chicken is consuming. So where's the calcium coming from? Clearly the chicken is eating things, like mica and different substances, and it's taking those and it's biologically transmuting them into calcium.
Right.
So that is just a fact. Right? The mainstream doesn't talk about it because it kind of debunks, I think, a lot of the mainstream model when it comes to elements and how they form. And, we're told they're forming in the heart of stars, millions, billions of years of pressure and atomic fusion and all these things. And then they supernova out and they seed the galaxies with all of these particles that are nebulas. And then those come together, magically gas, it reverses its normal behavior of dispersing evenly into whatever, space that it occupies. And all of a sudden now it's attracted to itself. And then it creates these stars and these planets and all this stuff.
I got a question for you. Speaking of stars, let me ask you a question. What if that the stars we see are just breathing holes
Yeah, we're inside of a
hamster
box.
We are in some type of aquarium, right?
We see light, and we see actually with the P900 and P1000s. You guys well know this, that you see all kinds of patterns that the mainstream wants us to believe are just artifacts of the cameras, but they're being picked up by lots of different kinds of camera.
Liquidy frequency.
Well, the liquid is you can see that just with powerful optics. So that's your waters above possibly. But then you've got like concentric circles, and you got geometric patterns, and all these things that should not be coming if that was the light of stars that are 100 millions of light years away. So I think, what are stars? Personally, I think they're cymatic emanations of the Godhead that exists within the firmament. That's my best guess. But could be breathing holes.
I was just making a joke.
It's a funny idea. I've had that thought before. Like, what if it was just like
little pinholes, lights coming through. Yeah.
But
this will confuse them.
We're coming up to the end, man. But I want to say, thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule and coming on and onto the show, connecting the dots and connecting some dots with us. I can't wait to have you back on our next show to explain in more detail what's going on, and we could, about your research and about these unveiling this Titan. Also, too, is please let everyone know Stellium 7, where they can find you, where to get your stuff at, and how to reach out to you.
All I have is just the YouTube channel, and it's right there, Stellium 7. I started mentioning the Unveiling a Titan series before, which is it's 7 parts, and the first one is just an overview. You could probably skip that one because your audience, I'm sure, are used to a lot of these subjects. It was the first video I ever made. It's definitely not my best video, and there's a whole lot I would change about that. But the second video is about the eye. The third is about the ear. The fourth, I go in great detail into the histology, which is the tissues of the mountain. And I'm looking at all of the different stony, rocky structures are on and around the mountain, and looking and asking the question, does this correlate to what I would expect to find with bone, right? If this were actually petrified bone, is there any truth to that? And so that's what the fourth video is about. The fifth video, I go back up to the eye again, make a whole bunch of new discoveries. And the sixth video is kind of a synthesis, bringing it all together, and also talking about the heart stones. And the seventh video I did live. It was a Q&A that I did up at the eye. So that's also worth watching. It's not called Unveiling a Titan Part 7. It's just live. It's live from the eye of Moltko. It's under the live tab. So most people who get through those are believers by the time they're done. There's over 50 anatomical correlations, which is a massive number if you think about probability.
I watched them all. You're not wasting your time. It's very good research. I like the way you put it together. And
the videos are like 30 minutes each. Most of them, I think one might be closer to an hour.
Good. If you haven't read, you haven't looked at his stuff, look at his stuff. But again, we can go over more of this next time. I want to say thank you for taking the time again for coming out on
thank you very much.
And being a part of the edge of your sheet.
My pleasure. Thank you for getting me out of my hibernation. I haven't done anything on my channel for two and a half months. So I was preparing for my presentations, and I was busy with work, and been busy with work since I got back. So I've been planning a live stream in the next few days just to do a recap and show some fun pictures and video clips of my experiences down in Mexico.
Can't wait to see it. Yeah.
And it was a real star-studded cast down there. I really had a lot of fun hanging out with all those people. And David Weiss was there. David Weiss presented just before me. I specifically I found out I was going to be on the same day as him. And I specifically requested to follow him, which was kind of a dumb idea, because he gave an amazing presentation. He's not used to doing live. I don't think he'd ever done a live presentation before. I think he said. He's done over 1,000 online, but to have a live audience. But I just figured it's the perfect, the Titan. I didn't even touch on my own research with the Titan and with the Heartstones and all of that. I was just on the trees with 45 minutes. There's no way to cover all of that stuff.
All of that stuff.
Material. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we'll have you come back, and then we can go over more of this in detail and about your research. I'd like to put it out there. We're on a tight schedule, so I want to make sure that we get that in there, and can't wait to see you back. On that.
And it stayed very polite, right, Rich? It stayed very polite.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I actually said,
no
what did you say,
name
Tam?
calling, no.
It's always with Stellium.
Yeah, you touched a sore spot.
So here again, we got this. We're going to look into waterfalls. Some waterfalls. The waterfalls all over the earth, and I said that these are all ancient irrigation systems. This is fresh water, peoples, ladies and gentlemen. This is fresh water. It's not salt water.
See, you've broken me, because even on the left, Richard, you can see the red bricks. On the right, you can see the brick line. So even in these pictures, I'm looking for the red brick.
Right. And the ancients, they tapped into what's called the water table. And they knew how to tap it in. They tapped it in, and this is how they got fresh water.
That's a point. He says fresh water. Yeah.
Fresh water. Because it's from the water table. And like you said, look at the bricks.
Right. Now I can't unsee it.
Right. Right. So this is a ruin. This is ruins from a building. Ruins from a building. And it looks beautiful. It looks serene right now. But you're looking at a serene, beautiful graveyard.
Tomb, right? That's so sad. Because
using your imagination, this event had to happen instantaneously. And it stopped instantaneously.
And may have stopped just as fast. That's what's creepy, is when you see the flow, and then you've got that one picture of the star fort. I don't know if you'll show that one, but it actually shows like a wave of the mud flood of everything, and then it 100% stops. It's but it's tall, right? I mean, isn't it like hundreds of feet tall? Isn't it really tall?
I know which one you're talking about with the star.
The one over the star fort. Yeah, but I mean, it's really tall. The whole mud flood is it's not like it's just a little ooze, like a little lava flow or anything like that. I mean, it was like a wave, wasn't it?
Right. Now, I think this could be like a mini tree stump, something like this. I think this could be more like a tree stump, but I see the brick lines here. So again, is this a melted building too as well? Who knows?
That could be a fun game. Is it a Titan? Is it a tree stump?
Right.
Is it a building?
It could be a Titan. But look, here we go.
And then you could have Stellium 7 pointing out like the hexagonal column, so he can point out what makes it look like a tree.
Right. Do you see the tree lines on here? This could be a tree. Right, but here we have
the waterfall, the irrigation. Yeah, that's
it is a building. You know what I mean? Or maybe it's snow melt. This could be a big tree stump. It could be.
Right.
It could be. It is, but I'm just looking at some of this stuff. And what are we looking at over here? Could be a big. A gigantic tree, but we don't know. We'll go over that later.
Yeah, like when it snaps, some of the trees that he's shown, like when it snaps and you can see the little pieces sticking up, where it actually looks like when they compare it with a regular tree stump, and then what that looks like, huge.
Absolutely. Is this glacier or is this crystal? Look at this. Look at here. Everything is melted to shit. Look at the bricks right here. You see the bricks? You see the red bricks right here? On the side right here? Look at the bricks.
Oh, yeah. Up there, up on the top right. I see. Yeah, I can see the brick lines at the angle.
Right, and look at the bricks over here. Look at the bricks over here. So this is rubble from a building, and this is irrigation system. That's how you can tell.
Oh, I see the waterfall. Yeah.
Look at the brick lines right here. Look at the brick lines. That's not a tree. That is
going that angle. That's even a different angle.
Liquefaction. I can show you. I did videos with liquefaction, how the building just melt into each other. It just goes into the wood. They just melt it. Look at the bricks right here. Put your thinking cap on. Look at the bricks. It's all bricks over here. Look at the bricks. Look at the bricks. It's all bricks. All bricks. And these, what you're looking at is rubble. These are balloon bricks from this melted event.
Yes, you see that.
And this is all, right, rubble, ruins from this melted past, right? And here, look at the brick lines are going this way because the building basically looked like it toppled, right? And look at the charring on here.
It looks like it fell over.
Looks like it fell over.
Yeah.
And here you go. That's what thinking cap on. Look at this. Figure out what's going on.
Yep. And the water is just beautiful, though, isn't it?
It is. But we have to look at it. It's just, you can go, there's tons of waterfalls all over the world. There is tons of waterfall all over the world. Look at it.
That's beautiful. Oh, look underneath it. Yep. Beautiful.
Look at how it's just melted.
Yeah.
Look at these slabs. Who knows? Is this a melted? Who knows?
Right.
It could be a giant tree stump.
Yeah, because look at the top. Yeah, he'll say that's a giant tree stump, possibly.
That could be a tree stump.
What's nice though, Richard, is you like keeping an open mind, because you keep saying, well, it could be this, it could be that, instead of
exactly. I'm not saying that. This is all melted. No. And I think that's what
we don't know, right?
Is that you can sit back and just look at it with your own eyes. Look with what you have. Look what you know. You know what I mean? And some of this shit is just so melted, you don't know. But now, what makes me lean towards a building of a construction, an ancient construction, or maybe a megalith construction, which I think all of these are megalith constructions. Right. Because of you have the fresh water coming out of here, water all over the world. Could be an ancient tree back here, and this could be a melted building, like a melted ice cream.
It could be both, exactly. You can have both right there. Yeah.
This is the type of realm that we lived on, which we have a mixture of everything. So look at this. Look at this fresh water. So
because I understand Stellium 7 saying like the trees turn to sandstone, that turns to sand. So who knows on the left, but they still definitely look like, to me, the brick lines on the right. They're definite lines though. So I can see both sides. I can see both sides. It's good to hear both sides.
Absolutely. Let's get through this real quick and let's go through some more. Just to kind of go over this. The reason why I add this in, but I think it's very important to this research. Okay. I think
the irrigation. Yeah, that's just
the water floor.
Right.
I don't see snow up top of there. Okay. So what I'm thinking from my research is that this is an ancient irrigation system.
That's a lot of water from no snow caps.
The ancients, right, exactly. And the ancients tapped into and this is still what's left. And that's why you have a lot of these rivers and these mountains and these waterfalls, is because the water is still flowing from these buildings. The piping is still flowing from these buildings.
Yes, there's one that you showed that had about 6 holes where the water is actually coming through circular openings, which doesn't sound very natural. It doesn't sound, I mean, perfectly spaced, circular. They look like it came from piping, because it seems like if it was not from that, it would go up over the top and just like a waterfall, just flow over. But you've got a picture where they have like 6 perfectly spaced pipe holes coming out of the wall.
Yeah, and look at this. Are these balloon? Is this brick, or is this a Titan, or is this a, who knows? But I'm thinking more because of this floor of this is just a melted building. This shit, it's really got cooked in this one, so you really don't see anything left. But these balloon bricks, these melted bricks, these
marshmallow expanded, yeah.
Yep, exactly. They just marshmallowed out, and pushed out, and fused everything together. So that you have a hard time with this, You got some more. Just take a look, and I just wish I was there really to see it on the ground exactly for what it is and do some testing. Look at the rainbow.
That's gorgeous. And look at the shape. What's the shape of the rainbow? That's what helped our daughter. Yeah, when she saw the rainbow, and she's like, "Oh, that makes sense if it's the shape of the rainbow."
Where does this water come from? I don't see no snow over here.
Right.
Water, because of these were big, gigantic buildings. And the water just
plumbing, with the irrigation system through.
Right, it's just shit. All of the things that stopped it from coming.
That's fascinating. That's really interesting. Yeah.
You have right, and you got the right conditions.
Because if you have that many people, I mean, you need the water, you need the infrastructure throughout the buildings, not just getting it to the building, but throughout the building.
Right, and the ancients used the water table. Well, why are we? You know how we drink water today? We drink water. That's why I said the ancients were far more advanced than we are. Well, we drink water out of sewage plants.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
So they take the sewage and they treat it with chlorine, and we're okay with it because we're so dumbed down.
That's really gross.
Bob world, where and they take and treat the sewage, and then they pump it back into the corroded pipes, and we fucking drink it. We can't think straight, and we can't see shit for what it is.
Right.
Why people are stuck on a tilted, spinning, flying water ball flying around the face? It's because these parasites that are running the show.
They get away with it because no one questions it. No one stands up. No one fights back. Yeah. We keep thinking we're glad we're on a well and we distill our water. Can you explain structured water? Because you said they're using structured water.
The ancients used structured water, especially the Tartarians. They, copper, and you got some type of charge to the water. You can structure the water. So awesome. Water is magical. It holds memory. So even Dr. Emoto did research where you could pour water into 2 different glasses, and then you could say mean things like "I hate you," and literally you could look at the water under a microscope. It has these broken, messed up cymatic patterns. And
right.
All the water, I love you. Look at those droplets under a microscope. They're beautiful cymatic patterns. And be careful when you're speaking these harsh words and have bad intentions.
The vibration, the frequency carries
water you're putting inside your body. So,
and if your body's 70% water, whatever it is, if a high percentage of water, then that's what's affecting you. You're doing it to yourself, right?
Exactly. So we have, here we go, right here. Here's another example of what are we looking at here? It's just a melted building.
Coming through the mountain. It's coming through, Rich, on the right.
Yeah.
So if that's a whole mountain, what they say, if that's just rock, that it's flowing. You can see it. It's coming through.
Right.
Something.
Exactly. It's coming through something. But I think more. Okay, this looks like up here. Look at this looks melted. Okay.
Yeah.
Also this could be a building, or this also could be a tree.
Right. And Stellium 7 would say,
right. This, you got to remember, this tree just turned. It's fine. Right. There's tons of videos of these big trees. We could be looking at a tree stump, and where you're looking at a case where the water is just flowing from up top.
Right.
And because we know water's in the atmosphere, right? Maybe it's raining up here and it's just flowing from the top. This could be that too. It could be both going on.
But not what we're told if it's solid rock. Where's the water coming from if it's a solid rock mountain that they tell us?
Right. And look at the charring down here, right?
Right. I can see all that burned.
Look at the char. So I'm looking for like evidence of some pockets of survival. And just some places just look more. So this, if you say, hey, if this you said, hey, this is a tree, then I would more like probably believe it. But on here on the right, I'm looking at here, and I do see that starting to see some brick lines and maybe evidence of a brick. Who knows? Are we looking at a megalithic structure? Are we looking at I don't know.
Yeah,
like
because
I said,
going up the right side, what do you call them? The hexagonal columns? And what have they possibly on the right? Yeah, it's hard to.
If someone's calling this a tree, I wouldn't argue with them, right? Because it could possibly be a tree. Doesn't look like a Titan to me, but I've seen stranger things. So let's go over here.
Yeah, the charring. What other explanation is that under a waterfall? I mean, wouldn't you think the water would put if it was a forest fire or something, wouldn't you think the waterfall would have put the
exactly. And to hear some more fresh water coming out of somewhere. And I'm thinking that these are rubble from buildings, right? Could this be back here? Could this be a tree stump or just a tree that broken up? Who knows? Or it could be a melted building, or this could be a Titan. Who knows?
Who knows?
To be honest with you, because I don't see any brick lines and I can't see a really close shot. So I'm thinking that this is just from a big bricks that got these together. This was looking like, and you have this ancient irrigation system that you have left. Here's some more. What do you have up there? You have up there. You know what I mean? So just another case of more waterfalls. Do you see any bricks? So that's what I'm looking for.
Right.
Looking for. So again, that's with that. We'll go with that, and we'll go into some crystals before we get into Antarctica.
Okay. I'm chomping at the bit.
Yeah, because I lead into the question. What I'm saying is that we're finding crystals.
This is a good segue. Yeah.
Like all over the place. Like these crystals are, is this clay? Is this melted buildings? And these are just the crystals from this building? Who knows? I think so. You see this could be it. Look at this. It's right from the ground. So, sorry.
I'm not hearing the sound on this one.
So you got these people in here digging up crystals from the ground, right? So you see how clear this crystals is? And I'm going to show you some crystal that looks like ice. Look how you lit it up. That looks like ice. That looks like a piece of ice.
It could, if you take it out of context. Yeah, you could just hold it up and
ice.
So then you're going to do the opposite, where what they say is ice is what's
You go off. If you didn't know better, it looks like ice. So you're bringing this up. Look at this. Looks like a piece of ice.
And then so when they say it's ice, and then you can see, it might be crystal.
And all of our geology and has all been wrong. They control all our education. It was wrong for a reason.
Intentional disinformation.
Are you looking at demolished red bricks? right? Are you looking at the ash from the red bricks? You know, we know these crystals come from these red bricks.
Else, right?
Right, exactly. So we know about the 200-foot ice wall. This is 200 foot.
Shoreline, right? Holding the water in.
Holding the water in, exactly. Right? And Antarctica is not a continent. It's just the Antarctic Circle, right? And then you go past there, there's other lands, and that's where you get closer to the dome, right? And if you even look on Antarctica maps, they show you where Dome C, Dome A, Dome B is at, and they want you to think it's a continent. But you look it up. Look up Antarctica. Just type in Antarctica, Dome A, Dome B, Dome C. Why are they using it's closer to the dome? Right? Now, the question
they have Deception Island, Rockefeller Island. And
now, if you didn't know better, and you didn't know about this melted pass, you would think that this is ice. People have been down there, they call it ice. But what if it's not ice? What if it's just crystal? Or what if it is ice? You know, what if like 20 feet or 30 feet beyond this is land that's holding in the waters, and it did froze over. You know, maybe there was, you know, this event that it froze over, or maybe the sun and moon went to a different part of the realm. Right. I mean, who knows? There's a lot of theories out there, and maybe we are looking at the end of that cycle where the ice is melting.
I think it was, one of them was Dave Weiss. I think it was Sophia Smallstorm who was talking about if everything like keeps moving out. So like our sun and moon would go out to the next concentric circles, and a new one would come up and then go out to the next one. That was another theory. And we're talking about Vibes of Cosmos going around where the sun and moon would move around, heating up different areas and then coming back down and heating up this area again. Everything would melt. The buildings would be founded again. You did that before, but there, lots of different concepts out there.
And you know, Stan, the more I do this research, I'm thinking that we're looking at two things. I think we're looking at some crystal, definitely a lot of evidence of melted buildings, definitely pyramids, all kinds of stuff, and I think we're looking at ice.
Yes.
Well, and you got some snow on top of the melted buildings. Now, is this glacier or is this melted buildings?
And you had said something also that there's not a lot of precipitation out there, not a lot of rain, not a lot of snow, that it doesn't.
For them, it's dry out there.
Yeah.
You know, is this all like the buildings were hot and they just started melting and it just froze so hot that it just turned to crystal? I mean, what do you know? Maybe it snowed 200 years ago so bad and it's still cold up there. But I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe, you know, who knows? They started breaking off. Is it crystal or is it ice?
Yeah, it almost looks like a flow between the two, right between the two. Like it doesn't it look like a something was flowing between those two on the side? Can you see through the center?
Right here.
Yeah, does it look like something came through, or it was?
It looks like something was flowing, but what was flowing?
Yeah.
You know what was flowing? So let's take a look at this, and so everybody can put their thinking cap on and come up with their own conclusions. I think that we should do more research on this, more discovery of.
They won't let us down there to check it out ourselves, huh?
They won't let us down there to check it out ourselves. So, and I got some, you know, so, okay, this is so-called supposed to be an Antarctic glacier. But I'm going to tell you right here, this doesn't look like ice. This looks like just melted shit. Now, could this be melted ice? Who knows? But look up here. This looks like ruined buildings that we see all over the realm.
Right. Just carved out the angles, the top.
And again, is this are these ruins? Are these they're like the crystal rocks that are floating, that are buoyant? Or these are just building ruins that are just floating in water? Who knows? I don't know.
Because that sure looks dirty up there on the top left for ice. I mean, yeah, like that. See how that's got the dark under the snow?
That could be a tree stump too. Who knows? I'll be honest with you. Now, is that a building, or is that an iceberg? You do see brick lines right here, right? Or is it a big glacier? Now, to be honest with you, I know what I'm saying now. Right here.
That on the top starts to look like either brick lines or, like you said, like in the trees where they have their lines in the trees. But
like it's melted from the bottom. See how before? That's why I spent a lot of time on that. Maybe this was a special type of brick that the ancients were using that turned it all into this, type of crystal. And maybe this is a melted structure, and right next to it is a glacier. I mean, that could be it too. But look at how the damage from the bottom, like you see in these castles and these big rocks, how it just rained out.
Yeah.
Looks you're seeing the same thing over and over.
And also the old maps when they showed the outer ring, a lot of them didn't show snow or ice. They just showed dry land. Really good.
Look at that. Look at that. Is that an iceberg, or is that melted structure? I think that's a good question. Look at the melted building in the back.
Or is it a Titan with legs tucked underneath? Then everything's on the table, huh?
They're just falling.
Oh.
Now we know rocks fall. When you drive around in buildings, you see falling rock. Look what comes up.
Look on the right. Look at the columns. Did you see the columns on the right? Didn't it look like columns?
Yeah, it's symmetrical, right?
Watch when this comes up on the right. That is awesome. Far on the right. Look how perfectly separated those are. Yeah, that to me looks doesn't look windblown or designed.
Right. And they say, because this has to be ice because of their global
agenda. But there are rocks
right
there. You think there were, and also we've seen pictures where they're just in like light jackets or t-shirts, which means it's not that cold, which means it would probably melt, right?
I don't think so. I think that's part of the illusion.
Right? When they wear the jackets?
Yeah.
They act all bundled up?
Yeah, I think, but like I said, it snows all over the place. I mean, look at Greenland. They say, it's so much ice, but it's not that much ice over there. So that's why, you have to figure out, hey, what is this?
Look at the right. Yeah, when you said the back right. No, that's ridiculous. That's so silly. So my friends in Australia are upside down, we're supposed to believe, right? Planes land upside down, we're supposed to believe. That's the dumbest thing ever. And what did it take Captain Cook? It took him, 60,000 miles and how many years to circumnavigate, to try and go around Antarctica? And if he was going around the outside, it could take 60,000 miles, right? But if it's only 13,000 miles around, it shouldn't take that. It didn't take that long,
right? And here they'll tell you that the Antarctic ice shelf is fracturing. So, is it fracturing? Is this ice? Is it melting, or is this an ancient irrigation system?
That's beautiful with the water. That's crazy.
We can look at the melted buildings in the back. Now, that looks like a melted tree stop. But you also there's also like a pyramid. It's pyramid. It looks like a triangle. So this could be a building or a tree stump.
And the ones on the right sticking out. Yeah, the little guy on the right. So
So what are we looking at?
Yeah, that water's beautiful. And then if it's on.
So you got this water gushing out here, but this is not the only places. There are a lot of places like this.
Yeah.
You know, it's just gushing out. You got fresh water coming from somewhere. You know, or maybe there is, that's what I said, we got two things to what? Maybe there's land underneath there. You go 20 feet in or something like that and you see it. You know?
Oh, that's interesting.
We got some
There's with his crystals again.
Yeah, this is Arkansas. Look at the bricks. Look at the red bricks. You see more of the bricks here. Look, and this looks like ice. Look at that. Does that look like ice?
Right.
Look, let me go back to that. Let's go back. So like a piece of ice?
Yeah, it looks like wet ice, yeah.
But it's crystal. It's crystal. So what is it, Tam? Right. Look at the rubble. Look at the rubble. Look at all the C14. Look at the clay. Right? And then now you know about rooftops, right? Well, I'm thinking that's all melted red brick buildings. And that's what you get. Because it's melted to shit, and that's what come out of the red bricks. Basically, the red bricks is so much that it turns into that crystal. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. This is all mind blowing. Every time I talk to you, it takes me about a day to recover. What did I just see? What is this?
Stellium, they're finding us all over the world. And it just melted, turning back to its original state. But you got gems and crystals, rubies, that come out. You know?
Yeah, you were showing pictures of the red brick with all that pressure and heat and then the transformation, right?
Yes. Look at those bricks in the background. And these people that sent out here now, oh yeah, we'll let you put this on our program, but this is what you gotta say it is. This is what you gotta say, what it is that you find it. Or a lot of them not even knowing our true history, and they're all spinning ballers, and they just
they just believe what they're told and don't question. No critical thinking. They just believe what they're told and don't ask questions.
Right. They're just thinking that they're just finding just a mountain full of crystals.
They just magically. They've just been there for millions and billions and gazillions of years, which is so ridiculous. Because you're thinking, there are a lot of people who are thinking that this may have happened within, relatively recently, not thousands of years, more like hundreds of years ago, right?
For me,
possibly
500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, absolutely. Who knows? It's post-apocalyptic. We're the survivors of the survivors of the survivors.
Yeah.
I don't think this is Antarctica. Yeah, this is not Antarctica. I think this is like somewhere else. But
okay.
Check this out.
Right. When you're talking about the colors, remember the blue you were showing in the crystal?
This is not Antarctica. This is Greenland. Or I think Greenland or somewhere else. I don't know. I think it could be I don't know where this is at. But these people are going down and everything is melted around them.
Oh, look at the water. You're just talking about the irrigation. You see the water?
Right. But is that crystal or is that ice?
Mm-hmm.
The people are saying that it's ice. I think it's ice. That's why I'm having it's a conundrum for me, because we've been lied to so bad. I just think that we just have to put everything on the table and just examine it ourselves.
Right.
You know, like I said, I'm not afraid to say, hey, I was wrong. Or I have to correct the way of my thinking. You know, I'm thinking before that this was a lot of just crystal. But I think we're looking at both things, Tamara. This is melted ice. And if we don't really know what happened in the past, how do we know that some ice age event did happen, but not the way they said it?
Right.
You know? Because if you have a grid meltdown, then maybe things got real cold. It went from hot to cold because of this grid meltdown. Maybe things short circuit, you know, and it's still melting today. Who knows? That's what I'm saying. Who knows? Look at how everything is melted from around there. Is that trees? Is that Titans? Or is that buildings?
Right.
So, and this is not Antarctica. So,
and what's amazing is everyone who's done, like you did all the red brick research, and you got others who have done the tree research, and then others have done the Titan research.
I want to get into that, but I'm just really showing, like, okay, this is ice.
See, that looks to me like a flow that stopped. Can you pick that up for just a second?
Right. This looks like a flow that stopped.
Can you back like another screen? One more? Was it? Yeah, the last one. Yeah. Even to me, that looks like it's different colors. Doesn't that look like the edges? It stopped.
Right. It could have been a flow.
Whatever it was. Yeah. That's what. Yeah.
Well, if we made crystal now, where's the interest? You could have made buildings of crystal too. Crystal
right.
Palace.
But actually, if you look at this one straight on, like the center, those could be brick lines.
It could be. And you're looking at a snow-covered, just snow on top of these bricks. And we think it's a geyser, but it's not. So that's what I'm saying. So who knows? Look at this. Is that a cave or a glacier? Look at all the bricks. That's not. Is that ice or is that snow?
Yeah, like on the left of the opening, it looks more like possibly.
Right, it doesn't look cold over there at all. You know what I mean? Look at this. We got something that was melted here, or something that looks melted. Look at this. This is very important.
Yeah, you were pointing out the top. See how it's like kind of bubbly on the top?
It's like kind of right. There's a bubbly. Is this crystal or is it ice? I'm thinking that this is ice. But also there's stuff in Antarctica that looks like this, that looks like crystal. I mean, who knows? Right. And I can tell you this is ice because I am not there myself. I actually see it with my own eyes. So I'm speculating off of what I see.
Well, and the guy down the bottom right doesn't look bundled up. If that was an ice cave, he didn't look. Well, he does, but I mean, if you go back, the little person in the corner looked like they had shorts and a t-shirt on.
And he's not in Antarctica too. So this is not Antarctica.
Right, I understand that. Yeah,
I'm
saying if it's an ice cave, I would think it'd be.
Yeah, I just wanted to give like an honest viewpoint on, like, you know, that hey, you know, that maybe, you know, it's not all crystal. Maybe it is. What we're looking at is both things. Like, again, this is not Antarctica. This is somewhere else. So, is this snow melt? Right, this looks like ice melt. So this looks like ice melt. Right? This doesn't look, I don't see any white crystals on the floor or any floating white crystals on the floor like you do in Antarctica.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? You see like all those crystals that you see like debris. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's very confusing. And that's why I'm thinking like this is ice and in Antarctica is crystal. Again, well, I'm not telling you what it is. I'm telling you what I think it is. There's another one.
Yeah, my head's swimming, so I don't know. Yeah, that's the bubbles that you were talking about, right?
The viscous.
Yes,
now,
that's exactly what I saw on the roof of the last one on the cave.
Crystal. Now we showed you how like crystal looks like ice, and this is underwater, so you got even a bigger effect, right? Looks like it looks like ice, but could it be crystal? You know, look at that. That looks like, I'm like, think about that. Look, let's go back to that. Look at this wall. Oh, I gotta go back to it. There you go. Look at that. There we go. Let's go back to that. There we go. Look at that. What do we got? What do we got here? What's your thoughts on this, Tam?
Richard, I don't know. I don't know. I think my head's spinning. I don't know. There's.
What are you looking at?
I love looking at it. I love, analyzing it and guessing and wondering. I think it's fascinating. I don't know.
You know,
underwater. I don't know how I would say. Yeah.
Looks like ice, Tam.
Says, yeah.
But could it be crystal? Like, what are we looking at here? Look at that. So,
with those sharp edges and stuff, I don't know. Yeah, look at that, because there's a.
Right? Is it cold over here?
Hmm.
You know, penguins can exist outside of Antarctica. I went to the Bronx Zoo and when I was a kid, saw penguins. Right? Look at this.
Oh, those poor polar bears. What is it? Oh no! What is it? 2 miles to the next.
Right.
They fly. They can swim miles. I mean, that's what they do. So that like that whole pull at the heartstrings, ridiculous stories or something.
Right.
They're trying to get people all worked up over stupid stuff.
Right. This looks like crystal. So one part it looks like ice. Another part, this looks like what we see in all the melted buildings. This looks like, and that is the conundrum that I'm in.
64,000 question, right?
This is right. What is it? Or we got something we got both a little bit of everything. We got snow-covered mountains. Maybe we do have some ice, but not all the ice that we think. Maybe there's ice over the land, which I'm leaning on, because I saw all the old maps that has shown land before the ice.
Right.
That was there.
So then what brought the ice? Yeah, why would it be different now on the maps now?
Reset. Could have been, was there an ice reset? Now, there's a lot of people that say, hey, there was an ice reset, which called the Ice Age. But what part of, that's big, or was it the whole world that experienced? They're saying, academics saying, well, the whole world was in an ice age and the ice retreated back. Or was it just certain parts of this ice age reset? I mean, who knows?
Right. And that was the other thing about that Prague clock, where when it went around, so if the sun and moon went up and around and over, if they went together and then melted as it went around every, however many, 2,600 years, 22, whatever, then if it did freeze as it was moving away, everything under the sun would stay melted as it keeps moving. I mean, it's another option too.
Right. This goes all the way to the bottom.
Yes, you can see it all the way to the
right. This is like, what the hell's going on? Like, how did this water? Is this frozen water? I mean, what's going on here? Okay, this is inside of the Grand Canyon, right? Which is so obvious that it's a melted structure, it's a melted building, because they got cave systems in there that you could see all the ancient past and these things, the giants that used to live. And this where Egypt is overwhelming.
Tell me about the pyramids. Yes. Say about the pyramids.
and Egypt was actually America. Yep, and like the Mississippi River was actually the Nile River, and this was actually Egypt.
They emerged, and they told how they were taken into this beautiful world.
So the deeper we dig, the stranger it gets. But it gets even stranger if we start to analyze why there was a need to cover this story up. I would probably focus on two main points in this story, and one of them is the giant humanoid mummies and the Egyptian hieroglyphs and artifacts that were found inside the cave. They don't add up, but they would be a good reason to cover the story up entirely. For instance, the giant mummies. Either they were some sort of alien reptilian race of some sort, or they were indeed giant humanoid beings. And there is evidence to support that maybe there were alien races that occupied Earth in a very distant past.
Outside of that, there's a whole realm of what I would call machining marks that exist all over these sites in Egypt. There's a place called Abu Sir that's been closed to the public for more than 100 years. You have to get special permission to go there. It's one of...
Nos encontramos aquí en Chiclayo, en el Paseo Yortuque, y lo que más llama la atención en este paseo, se habla del hombre reptil o el hombre iguana.
You see this?
Yes, how creepy. And they just leave it there?
Dracons.
In plain sight. They get it right in your face.
Right in your face. Right? The Dracons, the shape-shifting Dracons.
Se habla que interactuó con los seres humanos. Era un ser que vivía debajo de la tierra y tenía muchos poderes.
And there is also evidence to support that at some point there were possibly giant humanoid beings living amongst us.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
Right? It looks like it melted, like you put your foot in sand.
Right, or mud, and it just hardens. Yeah.
When it was alive, or this Titan, this is a Titan footprint. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toes. And you see how this is embedded.
Right.
When we put our foot in mud.
And it hardens, right?
During this
solidifies, petrifies.
Right, that this happened. He was trying to escape. And this footprint, just like you saw the one on the wall, I was wondering, like, oh, wow, how did they get layered like that? It's because shit got melted.
Yeah.
The ground turned up and started to slide. Now you got a footprint that's upside down like that. So if you look at this one right here, you go back. I'll play it again.
And there is also evidence to support that at some point.
Look, you see it? The same thing. So if you got a foot, right? You got a giant foot, right? And you see, like if you put your foot in mud or sand, you leave these groove marks. Well, this was flat on the ground, but because you have this melted that happened.
Or the moon, Richard, when they put their footprint on the moon. That was funny that if you have dust, it's not going to leave a boot print, Richard. It's not going to leave a print if it's dry. If there's no moisture on the moon, it would not leave a footprint.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so stupid. There's so many.
But you see what I'm saying? That
yes.
These giants that once roamed the earth, right? There's evidence of that.
That looks more giant, and then the other one was more Titan, because the last one you just showed is like just massive.
Right. This is a giant, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 toes, because a lot of the giants did have 6 toes. So this is a giant footprint, but you see how his toes made these come out of the mud. Well, I'm thinking this was flat, and then when everything melted, this pushed up. Because the ground moved, and I just made a lot of videos to show how the ground moves.
That's what you were saying before about the liquefaction, where it just kind of just dissolves underneath it, and it just
There were possibly giant humanoid beings living amongst us.
These are depicting ancient communities. Start with this scene, and we look at what we're looking at here. They're holding some type of structure with a snake inside. What is this? Now, we're taught that these beings represent the very ancient dynastic Cometians. So even though they're wearing dynastic headdress, the ancient Cometians are represented here. These are the dynastic people, smaller. They're just observing what was already here. Now, load this here nicely. This has been described first by Christopher Dunn as a Crookes tube, perhaps an electrical bulb. This seems to be working well. This is the Jed pillar, supposed to represent the backbone of Wizard, of Osiris. But here, it looks like it's what somebody said, a condenser, because it's working with electricity. And again, we're not talking wireless electricity, because it is plugged in. Plugged in. Now we switch to the other wall, and we look what's seen is over here. Again, and this is very important symbol. This is supposed to be ancient Cometian. He's holding the bulb, but here, the snake is being deflected. We have a creature here. We don't know what this creature is, but the important thing is what the texts say. This is a warning that this is a knowledge, a power that can be abused.
But again, these are just theories, but I'm going to show you guys some of the videos that supports this evidence.
Look at the technology from the whole world.
You were showing about the Wi-Fi before. The
shapeshifters. These reptilian that live among us.
Queridos amigos, muchas gracias a vosotros. Gracias.
Russian.
What you're about to hear is real. My name is not too important. The information that I'm about to tell you is extremely important. I was an intelligence specialist with the United States. Since then, if you watch my other videos, you realize that strange things have started to happen to my body. If you remember, my eye has started to get more of a slit in a or I guess snake eye appearance. If you look at my other videos or what I'm adding right here, you can actually see up close what my eye looks like. If you remember, my body in certain areas, like for example, look at my elbows on both sides, I'm growing additional limbs. My hands, my thumbs, they're extending and growing too.
The thing is, throughout the years, people have been observing certain videos that show some of these shape-shifting humanoids.
Look at the curve, right?
Sometimes it just doesn't make sense, and in other times I would say that the videos are completely fake. But who knows? Maybe this was what Kincaid and S.A. Jordan had found inside that cave when they told about these giant mummies that they found. If this is the case, it would understandably be a very good reason to cover all this story up. Now, on another note, if this isn't the case about the reptilians and all that, it could actually be giant humanoid beings that were found inside the cave. There are certain videos out there that you'll find that may actually prove the existence of giants occupying Earth in a very distant past.
A spectacular example of how little we know about our human history and so many other areas of science that are part of the nature of our reality. Very quick history about this footprint. It was first discovered in 1931 by a farmer or a guy around this area called Stoffel Coetzee.
Some of these footprints in Africa and Indonesia and other archaeological artifacts just scream out giant.
Inilah Bapak Tuan. Alhamdulillah kami sudah sampai.
Also in
these live beings that trying to flee, trying to, trying to get what's going on, and that was his last step. In
2017, ancient remains of 5,000-year-old giants were discovered in China.
All over the world.
For instance, in this video posted by DJ Dudenate not very long ago, we can see what appears to be a giant humanoid figure inside of a cave in Mexico, in Cabo San Lucas.
Yeah, all right.
That looks like the Hulk.
his head.
At a certain point, I would say that some of these archaeological finds and giant footprints and whatnot may just be just a coincidence, and in other cases, it could actually represent some sort of evidence that maybe there were giant humanoids in a certain point in the past. Not to mention
the ruins. You can look at this mountain, and this is just an ancient building. You see some of it's all melted, turned sideways, and what's left over, you have your pockets of survival. Check out your pockets of survival.
And we're melted around the building. That's what gets me. Yeah, look at this. Wow.
All pockets of survival. Bingo. Pockets of survival.
Oh, look at the bricks above. Look at on top.
Right.
That has a lot of different layers. That's wild.
All brick, red brick. Right. And this is what's, look at this, is all the mountain. This is all the shit. This is what you call pockets of survival. What was left over. And
look
this
at all the windows. That's crazy.
Magnificent. Right.
Right. That's
yeah.
sad.
Walkway down here. Right. Exactly. Look at this. All of this is all the turning and the bricks. All just melted to shit. Look at this. Look at the ballooning coming out of here. This is what's left, Tam.
Right.
These had windows on it. This was just a beautiful, magnificent place.
Yeah, see on the top, I see windows, the brick lines, the bricks, and then the windows. I don't see how that can be.
Up here, look at it ballooning. It's all
right.
So you see this? This is a natural formation? No. We're just
because it looks like all that is flow along the outside, the back. Yep.
Looking at ruins.
Just
Looking at a grave. You looking at a grave site. You're looking at the people.
But there's so many different. This is a great picture because the top has the old bricks in their brick lines. Then whatever with those windows, that's crazy. That's.
Well, this is the same thing. This has got more blown out. Look at the balloon bricks. This has got all blown out. 14 got melted out. This is just what's
even higher. I didn't see those up higher on the right. Yeah.
That's got melted to shit.
Yeah.
That's why some tops are worse than some bottoms, and some bottoms because you got to remember the run current right through the brick.
And then it was whatever it was melting, and then for it to stop at that point where it's going along the outside, these survived, but it's enough to get to see what it partially used to look like.
Yeah. So look at this. You got all this. These are all ruins from buildings.
And also, there are no roads to build a structure in there. There's no infrastructure. There's no reason to build something into the side of this, whatever. And then also, I don't see how this could be a tree stump because it's too distinct. He was saying, what about the boards? That it could be boards going through when they had the holes. Remember he's talking about the boards, the wood, the boards going through. But I still don't understand how that could be a stump.
Yeah, so this is what happens when you have these. So you see the ballooning that came out of these bricks, and you see how it's toppled on right down here. Look over down here, over here. Look all over here. You see how it's just flowing this way and flowing this way, and this was probably just a flowing, sort of like magma flowing in here until it just hardened up for a while.
Well, you can even see the lines, the bottom left. To me, it looks like you could pick out brick lines down the bottom left where you were showing that crevice to the left of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And all this, what you call like slate rock, it's just all melted building stuff. Concrete. That came from the bricks. It's all ruins, right? And
we were talking about that earlier, the Alfred P. Murrah building where it blew off the front, and then you can see into the office spaces. It almost looks like that. This looks like there were paths in front of those windows, but it almost looks like exposed, like you can look into those rooms.
Yeah. You can. They go inside the whole thing. Go inside the whole building. Look at this. Look at that from this angle. It's just magnificent. Look at this.
Yes.
See how it's all ballooned up? It's all ballooned out. Look at this. Some more over here. Like Machu Picchu. You know, Machu Picchu looks like this. Look at this. This is all. This is all building. Look at the rubble. Look at the rubble.
Almost looks like stairs on the right or stairs up there.
Look at this. Right. This is what's going on here. Look, this is a big ass building.
Oh.
Come on now. Like this is just more stuff up here. Like this was pockets of survival looking in the back. This is just huge buildings. You ever know how much people it was?
Huge buildings. I mean, those are just gargantuanly, massively monstrous.
Look at this, some more reviews. This is just a building in rubble. It's all rubble. Nothing's left. This is what's left over. Actually, this is Spain. This is Spain. This was all made out of red bricks. Look at the red brick right here. Do you see the red brick right here?
Oh, I see it underneath. Yep. Yeah, I can see that.
Pockets of survival from this event. He's saying this was a bull. A bull. Look at the red brick right here. You see it?
Underneath, yeah. As soon as you show what's underneath, yeah.
Look at the bricks over right here. They just expanded from this event. I mean, what does your eyes see? Now, everything that we've been talking about.
Yeah, my first thing is a building, just because all the being carved out, it looks too intricate and too detailed. But I guess it could be a stump too.
Right. So what? I mean, what do you see? Okay, so. So this is supposed to be in China. So Mountain Maji, is this a mountain, a natural formation, or is this pockets of survival from a building? What is after everything learning from what we learned?
Look at, I mean, how could you even, I don't even know how you could think this is natural, because the carvings, look at that, the people, big, huge people on the left, on the top right, you've still got all those windows, you've got the brick lines on the right, on all the left, the whole thing on the left, but that's all melted, and then somehow this little guy survived.
Right, this is all pockets of survival.
Right, just amazing that it melted down and then stopped right before that amazing carving.
Yeah, right, so I think that's a good one right there.
That's a really good one.
And you got more of this in Utah. How you have this is in Utah. It just looks like it's pancaked it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. It just collapsed on itself. Yeah.
Because YouTube has to always show us everything. Let me see. So here we go. We got this. Right. Oh, look, it melted. Look, it's flowing. Right. This is all ruins.
Oh.
Look at that, Tam.
Yeah.
Look at that. Just cities, man. Just like you saw how those buildings were.
Yeah, look how if all those are buildings in the back, the front, if all those were, you think of like some of those resorts, you know, where they're going around the bay or something, you can see them with all those windows looking out. That's what those look like. It looks like a beautiful view from whatever windows they had.
Hey, look at this, and look at the destruction. See the red bricks in there on the right and left hand side. Look at this, and it just goes forever.
Trillions of people, trillions,
quadrillions. Look at this, and just like that, look at the dome right there on top of this ancient structure. And this is what's left from this devastation. And I think it's something that we should look at and should examine. And if we do look closer,
did you see the chemtrails up top? Can you see that in the sky?
Same time it's spraying us like bugs. Yeah, look at this. What are we seeing? Just it looks melted. It looks like it's flowing. Look at before.
Okay, so again, when you said we were walking on the tops of buildings, we're existing, living on the top of melted buildings. This is a perfect example because you look to the left, look to the right, and you can see underneath the different layers and levels. So this would be walking on the rooftops, the melted rooftops.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy. And here is from my list. Talking about the advanced civilization that happened before in the past. And these are what's called megaliths. And look at this big ancient building. They're baffled because they want to know who built this. Well, rather than talking about the pink elephant in the room, they just talk about just regular sized humanoids like me and you, and there's a whole bunch of them built this structure up, rather than saying giant beings built this structure up.
Right.
So this is
again, because you go back to hammer and chisel, they didn't have the cranes or the scaffolding, anything like that. I mean, how in the world would they have gotten up so high?
Big. These were the Titans. We're building. This is the Titan bricks right here. Look how big these bricks are.
Yeah.
It's a building. Look how big this brick is. It's symmetrical too. So I think it's interesting.
Fascinating. Absolutely.
And I want to go over it. This is the stuff that I want to go over with right here with you. Is some more evidence of this melted past.
And pockets of survival, yeah.
Pockets of survival.
So many arches. Oh, and look whatever was on the top. I mean, it was probably this probably was beautiful.
Yep.
Look at the entrance. Look how clear the entrance was. Yes, on the left. And the decorative carvings above it, the big arch. And then the windows on the right, and then the carvings above it. I mean, it's too detailed and too intentional to be an accident. Or
This is a goddamn building.
I love the half mounts. I love this because on the right, yeah, you can see where the building was and then how it was enveloped by whatever.
To go from here, hey, so like we were saying is basically you got to use your head and and use your mind. Hopefully we collected some dots for you again and about this melted reality, and then later on we can go into the trees and the Titans.
Yes. And then show the difference, show how they're completely different, and then putting them all together and being able to figure out the differences, because they are so, I think they're so obvious, each one, the stones, the Titans, and then I think the melted buildings to me are so obvious when you see the red brick lines, when you see the arches, when you see it melting around it. I think it's fascinating. I've learned so much from you, Richard. Thank you for letting me join you on this journey.
And I think this was a great, one. Remember this is you put your thinking cap on, look at this. You got to unlearn and relearn.
Think critically, think for yourself, right? Ask questions, research, look into it.
Absolutely. Well, Tam, thank you very much. And thank you for everyone that took the time to look at this video. Thank you for everyone that has questions. And Tam, where can everybody send us a message, reach out to us, ask us questions?
This thing is charismictruth@gmail.com and
gmail.com. Right. Or you can leave us a comment in the video too as well. Let us know what are your questions or anything like that. And if you want to be a part of the show, or if you have any just any kind of ideas. All right.
And there's so much more to cover. Like I said, just scratching the surface. Thank you, Richard.
Absolutely. So everyone, take care and see you next time. Bye.